Are you thinking about making a podcast? Spotify has a platform that lets you make one, and if I can figure it out, you definitely can too. You can create your own content all in one place for free with zero hangups and even earn money as soon as you get started. Spotify lets you record and edit episodes from your phone or computer so you can go mobile, just like I enjoy to do. My favorite thing about it is that you can create video episodes if you wish and upload them to wherever podcasts are heard. You can even set up subscriptions, or if you're like me, listener support options for listeners to help you grow. I 10 out of 10 recommend the Spotify for Podcasters app. Or, why don't you just step over to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your own podcast. All right. I am joined by a very special guest, someone who lived up the street from me my whole life without me knowing, and somebody who's also turned into my brother. He has an excellent story, and he's going to share it with us today about finding oneself, conquering battles, and how each small battle leads up to an overall victory in being who you are instead of being who society makes us to be. So, great American, son of a absolute one of my heroes. So, and his mom's pretty cool too. So, my boy Russell here.
What's going on, Eddie? I thank you for having me out here, man. This is going to be
Yeah.
fun. I'm ready to kind of talk about everything that I've gone through and past issues and all of that, man. It's going to be a good topic and good conversation.
Yeah, solid, brother. Well, let's get straight into it. I like being. I don't usually do bullet points and shit like that. So I'm gonna go straight to it. Tell me about what it was like to grow up for you.
Oh man, so growing up, I had a pretty good childhood, like my entire life. Two very loving parents that are actually still together today and kind of show me what I want in a future relationship. Just their love and compassion for each other. I mean, they're they're both in their 60s. My dad just rolled on to the 70s in November of last year, and they go out walking, man. They still hold each other's hands. It's adorable. It's just you see those couples that are in their like 80s and 90s that still hold hands, and like I just look at my parents that are in their 60s and 70s, and I'm like, they're holding hands. Like
That's like a dream come true kind
yeah,
of
it's
thing.
totally a dream come true. It's just absolutely amazing. Growing up, I didn't realize that we struggled financially, because I mean, we always had a roof over our head. To quote you in your last podcast, we had running water, which
Hey,
was a big thing. I mean,
yeah.
we had running water, and it listening to your podcast, I never really thought of running water as a luxury. Like you never really think of it because we've pretty much had running water our entire lives.
Yeah.
If you grew up around here, you had running water.
It's not like poisoned or anything like
Yeah,
that.
it's not.
It's nice.
You can drink it.
You don't
Like,
have to walk 5 miles to go get it. Like
yeah,
it's right there. You
it's
just
right there. You just
press
turn
a
it
button.
on.
It's a luxury.
And so I never really thought of it as a luxury until I listened to your podcast about how like just having the simplicity of turning on a light switch and hey, my dark room is now light, or all of that. Growing up, I never realized that financially we were a little tight, but we always had the roof over our head, the water, the electricity, food on the table. Like it was never really an issue. So we never really like got to see that. Um,
You made do.
yeah, we made do. Our parents definitely made do with everything. And I mean, my dad, he's a Vietnam veteran. You said, he's one of your heroes.
Oh yeah,
That
he's badass.
he is very much a badass, dude. I mean, my mom was in the Air Force. She was an airplane mechanic when she was younger. So I mean, both of them like just raised me to a certain standard of like it's yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir.
Respect.
Very much respectful growing up to where you I would go to friend's house, and if I didn't say yes ma'am or no ma'am, I was scared that like my parents were gonna find out. So like it was just one of the craziest things. One of my best friends growing up, we've been friends since middle school. And to this day we're still best friends. We've never had an argument, never had a fight. He was raised very much the same way, to where when him and I are out together, we always joke, okay, which one of our parents is going to come out of the corner and beat us with a belt for not saying thank you or yes please or no thank you. So yeah, but I mean, growing up, I didn't have issues. I was bullied a lot when I was in school when I was younger. Um,
Why?
because of my weight.
Oh.
I've always been a big guy. I've always dealt with people picking on me for my weight,
Mm.
which affected my self-esteem growing up. I didn't have a lot of self-esteem. Even into my adult years, like I didn't have that self-esteem. Which we'll get
Was
into.
there like a lot of bullies? A lot, like a lot,
Uh
or just like one or two out
there
there?
was quite a few out there that just seemed to. It started out with one, and then it went from one to a couple that became friends with that bully, and it was one of those like things like, oh, he's the cool kid and he's picking on that guy, so we don't like this guy.
Oh, clicks and shit.
Yeah, and clicks, dude, young clicks, young, like at a young age and stuff like that. Like it was something that I dealt with to the point where like I would beat the skinny guys and the people that were picking on me to the punchlines. So they would start to make a fat joke and I would roll right into a fat joke on them because
Self-deprecation.
yeah, if you're going to pick on me, I'll pick on myself 10 times worse than you can, to where you think it's not going to bother me.
Mm.
And then it turned into these guys becoming my quote unquote friends because they're like, dude, Russell's actually kind of funny and he doesn't care that we make fun of him for being overweight because he's doing it. And I never realized growing up how much that would impact my self-confidence, my train of thought, my further life choices down the road of not having that confidence and making poor decisions down the road and down the line, to where my there was a good chunk of my years that were, from others' point of view, my life looked good, but internally I was fighting so many demons that it was like I was walking in hell every day for probably, I would say, 8 to 10 years.
Damn,
So,
that can get hard.
yeah.
You know, I've had my share of bullying. I didn't react to it in a very positive way. Um, a lot of times it crushed me. Other times it infuriated me, and other times I responded with violence and sometimes severe violence. And I still regret like not having a person right next to me to be like, hey, don't fucking pick on him,
Yeah.
asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck you guys. And I've always tried to instill that in Will Jackson.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
bullies can get beat up, and some people might not like me saying that. Uh,
That's okay.
you know what? Is your teacher going to stop them?
No.
Probably not.
No,
You're
they
going
never
to
did.
be thankful that you have some kids out there that are willing to punch a bully in the fucking face
Yep.
to stop your son from committing suicide, because like suicide was something that is like a major result of bullying.
Yep. That
Same with
was
active shooters. So
yeah. Suicide, something that's in my life with people that I was close to. And towards the end of my addiction, suicide was in my head.
mm.
I actually have my tattoo right here. It says my story isn't over yet, and then the semicolon. So the semicolon represents, in writing terms, it's to carry on a sentence. And so,
Okay, don't laugh at me. I know
nope.
you're already smiling because I was gonna say, what is a
Yeah,
semicolon?
I knew it. Don't worry. So, so the
Not an English
semicolon
major.
is, instead of a writer using a period
Okay.
to end a sentence, they use a semicolon to carry on that sentence. I just got goosebumps, dude. Look at that.
Yeah,
Goosies, because this is so close to me. Um, I chose to continue my life. So
that's badass.
I didn't put a period in my life. I said, you know what? I still got something to show.
Mhm.
And then right on the other side of that, you see the ribbon with a chain that's breaking, and that is the tattoo for breaking the chains of addiction.
I think that's pretty
Um,
cool.
so my whole story is I'm not done yet. I broke those chains. I can help others break those chains. I'm a sponsor right now for a guy that's almost 3 years clean. He's at about 2.5 years clean right now, and it's super amazing. Him and I try to meet, like, once a month. Charlie, if you listen to this, bro, I'm so dang proud of you, man.
Everyone should
You've
be,
come
yeah.
yeah. His family's super proud of him. Everybody that knows Charlie, I've known Charlie a long, long time, and he's come so far, dude. He's I wanna say about a month clean from cigarettes. He made that active choice on his own, said, "You know what? It's time to do it." Charlie, I love you. We will be talking soon, bud. Yeah, so growing up, we'll go back. Growing up, uh, I was raised by both my parents, and I didn't realize that growing up, the guy that I knew and now still call dad was not my biological dad.
Mm.
Um, oh, I'll do a little PSA here real quick. Mom, dad, I love you both. You guys are going to hear some stuff that I've never ever told you about some dark times in my life. Um, thank you both so much for never giving up on me and never, I guess, never really just giving up on me. You guys have been a big light in my life, and I appreciate both of you very much. God, man, we're not even 15 minutes into this, and I'm already starting to cry, dude.
It's okay. It's okay.
Dang.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I can follow this up with a little bit of a joke. But you guys are gonna hear some stuff that you have never heard come from me. Some things that you neither one of you know. Um, know that God made me go through those trials and tribulations to make me the man that I am today. And there's nothing in my past that I would ever change or redo because I am who I am, and I'm able to sit here with my good friend and my brother Eddie to hopefully say something that's going to resonate with somebody that needs to hear it. And if they want to reach out to me, they can. So now I'm going to go
Absolutely.
away
Well
from
said.
I'm gonna go away from the tears because I literally almost started crying talking
Yeah,
to my
you can
parents
cry.
in
I
that.
cry in here all the time. These microphones are like
Um,
truth serum. Truth serum. You might not ever think you're gonna say something, and then out of nowhere, you're working through your trauma, explaining how, like, like just the other day, like working with Cherie, I was tearing up just talking about how much I love my
yep.
sister, and
I
I never realized how traumatic it was for me, and this ultimate calling of wanting to be somebody for her that I didn't see in her life because that was deployed.
yeah,
So tr- just cry, man.
yeah.
It's okay. If
So
everyone makes fun of you, I'll punch him in the mouth.
exactly.
Fuck
So
them.
it's funny that you referenced the podcast with Cherie because you called me out in that podcast,
Mhm.
and I wasn't the boy that came and mowed the lawn. I was the newspaper guy. I came over and gave you
It's all the same.
newspapers.
You stole my Tootsie Rolls.
Well, it's funny that you said that, bro, because I figured I would repay you with
I'm
with an
gonna hang
actual
this up. This
Tootsie Roll.
this is going up in the bar by a
Perfect.
Tic Tac. I'm
I
gonna
for all of you that can't see, I gave him like I think it's like a 2.5 or a 3 inch long
yes,
Tootsie Roll
2.5.
because I did when I would come to collect for the newspapers. I would always get like 2 or 3 Tootsie Rolls along with the $2 that was the donation for the newspaper for the Enterprise newspaper. And I never knew it until, like, many years later, like, just
That was
probably, like,
my
just a couple of years
candy.
ago when Eddie and I reconnected, that he was like, "Bro, you're the guy that always stole my damn Tootsie Rolls." And I we always joke about it now, so I had to bring you
Thank you.
a Tootsie Roll to
This is
repay the stock
yes.
of many years of Tootsie Rolls that I
I
took
feel
from you.
all warm inside. I'll make sure to hang it up in the bar.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's forever there.
Okay, so now we can go back to finding out that my dad, who raised me, was not my dad. Um, well, I take that back. He's my dad, but he wasn't the sperm donor that
Mm.
helped conceive me.
And that's tough. Too. I've been there.
Oh yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
weird feelings.
it's super weird feelings.
Really.
And the way I found out is we always got mail in the mailbox for a different person, and I was like, "Who in the heck is this guy?" So I asked my mom one day. I was like, "Hey, who's this guy named Dwight? We always get his mail." And it was just like, I will never forget the look on my mom's face of just, like, pure blank, like, here's my son that's pretty young asking who this guy is, and I know who this guy is, but he doesn't. And she told me, "Well, that's your dad, your biological dad." And I was like, "My what?" Because again,
Biology?
I'm like,
I'm
"What
not
the
in that
heck?"
class
Yeah,
yet.
exactly. I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." She's
I
like,
used to think that was such a stupid
"That
word, too.
it's totally a dumb word." It's like, okay, whatever. But she told me that Danny, my dad, was not my biological dad. He's just been in my life. Honestly, to me, like I can't picture a time without him there.
Me either.
He's been in my life since I was 2.5, I believe, 2 or 2.5. Um, and he's always been somebody that I was drawn to. To this day, I'm still drawn to this guy, dude. Like I idolize him. Like he's my dad. He's my hero. And yeah, it's just he's just ultimately a great guy. So when I found out like he wasn't biologically mine, I'm like, all right, whatever. I don't care. He's been here.
Yeah. So I'm not going to college anyway.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't care. I don't need biology.
Biology key.
Whatever.
Biology key.
Biology. um, and so years went by. It didn't change how I looked at him. Like I'm like, dude, this guy, he does everything with me. He makes me and my sister and my mom his world. He made us his world. And to see him look at my mom, like I just knew. I'm like, dude, this guy's gonna be around forever. Like I always knew. Um, and I can't remember how old I was, but my mom and I went to a fair down south, not in Puyallup, but farther south, down by Vancouver.
Mm.
With my aunt,
Thurston County Fair.
maybe like big huge fairground right on the right
Past
side.
Olympia. Yeah.
Yeah, way past Olympia.
Yeah. It might have been the Centralia area, maybe.
Maybe.
One of those.
So,
One
yeah,
of those
something.
fucking places.
Yeah, one of those little like
out there away from
yeah,
the city.
the little country towns.
Yeah.
But we were there and I remember like walking with my mom and my aunt and my uncle were there and we I'm like we should just cut through the food court or I told my mom I was hungry or something. Excuse me. Um and we go walking through the food court and this guy walks by me and like I kind of turn around and like I see my mom hugging somebody and I'm like, who the heck is this guy? And he turns around and my mom's like, "Hey, Russell, this is Dwight." And I knew who Dwight was. I'm like, "Oh, this is the guy that
Dwight Howard, the basketball player. I've always wanted to meet him.
I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool. Dwight. Like awesome. This is the guy that was supposed to be like the dad, I guess." He was with my mom, he impregnated her, is how we can say it. Um, and then when he found out she was pregnant, he said, "You have to choose that kid or me."
Oh yeah,
And
I'm not a fan of Dwight. I'm
my
like,
mom just she threw up the dubs like deuces, dude. I'm keeping the kid.
yeah.
Like I don't need you. Like you're out of here. Um, and she chose me over him, which was amazing. Like obviously, because I'm pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
So, um, so yeah, so
Can't
we're
lie.
there, and like this guy, he like my mom's like, "This is Dwight," and he's like, "Hi, I'm your dad," and I'm like, "You're not my dad. My dad's fishing in Alaska." Because
Fucking right.
my dad he used to go to Alaska every single year with a couple of his buddies from work, and they would go up and they would go fishing for like 6 days, 5 or 6 days in Alaska. And I'm like, "You're not my dad. Like, my dad's in Alaska, dude."
That's
And
right.
he's like, "Can I have a hug?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna give you a hug. I don't even know you." And so then we like leave the food court. We're with this guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is my wife, and oh Russell, this is your half brother." And I'm like, "Cool." Again, I'm like in my like I don't even want to say I was a teenager yet. I was probably like 11 or 12,
You don't understand.
maybe 13.
It's so
So at my
confusing.
age, dude, when you're 11 or 12, bro, like
Your balls ain't
you
even dropped usually.
yeah,
Most all my friends, their balls never dropped yet.
yeah, like you get to that point though when you're like still 11 or 12, like that's another kid. Like you're going to play with this other kid.
Mm.
So like I'm playing with this kid that apparently was a half brother that I was like, "Okay, I don't know what that means, but this is a kid. I'm going to play with him."
Yeah.
And he I remember distinctively, like Dwight was like, "Oh, look, he's like getting along with his brother so well," and like that was it. We went our separate ways. My mom and my aunt and uncle and I went our separate way. Dwight and his family went the other way. Never gave that guy a hug because it was just weird. Um, and then yeah, man, that was really about it. And then it was middle school. Actually, um, before middle school, I started hanging out with my dad's childhood friend, Steve. His son Dustin and I were a couple years apart, and Dustin and I were like inseparable. His
Is he your best
dad.
friend?
This was my best
I'm
friend
happy for you, man.
for, well, not now. I haven't talked to Dustin in a long time.
Oh,
But Dustin and I, we were inseparable during the summers. Like I would, his dad had 20 acres up in Arlington, and I would go up there and hang out for the summers. That is where I learned to drive a tractor, drive a dirt bike, drive a truck. Um, First time I drove a truck on the freeway was then. Um, yeah, learned how to roll cigarettes. I think I was like 12 when this was all
so
happening.
country boy shit.
Yeah, yeah. His dad told me I was either gonna chew or smoke cigarettes if I worked on the farm. Um,
Yeah,
and so I started
that's
smoking
that's a
cigarettes.
thing.
Apparently it was with him. Um, Again, mom, dad, this is stuff you you never heard until now. So yes, your son started smoking cigarettes every summer when he would go to Steve Deal's house um, up up north. Um, they've heard some stories about going to Steve's house, but not that part. Um, but yeah, I started smoking cigarettes when I was like 12 in the summers because I was up there working on the farm, helping out, getting stuff done around the farm. Um, uh, Steve was a very big alcoholic, and started teaching me how to drive around the farm, drive his truck. And when he realized I was good at driving, he would give me $20 and he would call the gas station that was like 5 miles away. And he would call because he knew the people that worked there. He's like, "Hey, I'm sending Russell and Dustin down. Can you sell them a 12 pack of beer, case of cigarettes, or a carton of cigarettes? And then if they have money left over, they can buy some snacks." So we would leave and I would drive, 12 years old. I would drive. It was, let's see, from their driveway, it was 1, 2, 3 turns, but it was about 5.5 miles away because it was country roads.
Yeah,
And I would drive down to the Shell station and I would get his case of beer, his carton of cigarettes. We'd normally have about $5, so we'd get like a pack of pizza rolls because pizza rolls are life. Like those were the most amazing food back then. And then I would turn around and drive home. Well, one night we went to, I want to say it was called the Buzz Inn Steakhouse, and it was in Marysville.
yes.
And Steve got hammered to the point where like he could not walk.
Mm.
And me and
He
Dustin
started
are
speaking
there.
4 languages and shit.
Yeah, dude,
Oh
he
no.
was, I didn't realize that Steve knew like 4 different languages, 5 different languages. I understood the French that he was speaking very, very clearly. I could understand that. Um, and he walked up to me and he's like, "Okay, guys, we're gonna go home now." And I was like, "Steve, you can't drive." "You're right, I can't." And he handed me the keys. And I'm like, "I can't drive. Like, what are you talking about, dude? We're so far from your house. Like, we're going from Marysville exit, I think is like 204 or something.
Yeah.
We were
To
going
199
north."
up.
Yeah, 199. There you go. It was the 199 exit. So we were going from 199 exit north on I-5 up to like the 214 or something like
Oh
that.
no.
We were going way
Yeah,
up
you're
on the freeway, bro. And I'm like, "Steve, I can't drive. I'm 12." He's like, "Oh, it's okay." I'm like, "Okay, how are we getting there back roads?" "No, no back roads. Just get on freeway and we'll go." I'm like, "All right, whatever, dude." So here I am, 12 years old, white knuckle on the steering wheel, dude, driving. And I'm getting on the freeway and he's like, "Speed up." And I'm like, "What? Go faster." So I like push down on the pedal and get it up to like, I think we were doing like 80 on the freeway. And he's like, "Slow down." I'm like, "What? Less gas." I'm like, "Okay, like I don't know what I'm doing. Like you have to tell me." And he's like, put it on 60. And I'm like, okay, I got it. And then I'm like staring at the speedometer, looking up occasionally, like,
Oh, no.
bro, I had no idea I knew how to drive, but I had never been on the freeway. 12 years old. You don't drive the car on the freeway at 12 years old. Like, nobody does. I
Yeah.
did. So I made the drive all the way to his house. He crawled in, laid down on the couch, and he went to sleep. Like, he passed out, like,
Yeah.
instantly. And I'm like, I told my buddy, I'm like, dude, I'm never driving your dad again. That was so scary. But then it was like every month during the summer when I was up there, like, I was always driving this. But I got used to it. Like, it wasn't a thing after that. Um, I saw my first bag of cocaine in his dad's bathroom, and I didn't know what it was, and it was a big bag of coke. Um, and he always told us, "Don't ever go in my bathroom." And we went in there one day, and he had like nudie mags all over his counter, and we were like, "Oh man, like look at this, dude, boobs, that's cool."
Titty!
and then and then we start like looking around, and I'm like, Dustin, what's this bag, dude? Like, what is that?
Dude, it's bacon.
He's like, I
Baking
don't
powder.
know. And I'm
See,
like,
he bakes. Okay, leave him alone.
what the heck? Why is there white powder in your bathroom? And he's like, I don't know. So me being me, curious little kid, freaking put some on my finger and like put it in my mouth and was
Oh, of
instantly
course.
like, oh, dude, I don't know what that is, but it's tingly. Like, I didn't know. Well, I found out that it was coke. When I
That's
grew up,
definitely cocaine, man.
I realized and learned that, hey, that stuff that you put on your mouth was coke, and that's why it made your mouth go tingly.
It wasn't Novocaine.
No, it was definitely not Novocaine. So yeah, so I guess, hey, mom, dad, guess what? Your son tried coke when he was like 12 or 13 years old.
Accidentally.
Yeah,
When you're-
accidentally. It
when you're a
wasn't like I
kid-
did it on
You're a
purpose.
kid, you put a lot of things in your mouth. When you're adult, you put less things, but hopefully more often in your mouth, you know?
This is very true. Very, very true.
Lick it before you stick it. Anyways.
So yeah, so then gosh, man, that's pretty much leading up to middle school. So that was my childhood, really.
Wow.
So yeah, kind of uneventful, but eventful at the same time.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting and wild first piece of your childhood growing up. I didn't try cocaine until a long time after I was 12. So I have a couple questions about what it was like. Were you around a lot of military experience in your family, or was, not, I'm not trying to dive into like a military service kind of portion, but was service like important military service an important thing to you, or did you ever think about joining the military? I mean, you told me your dad and mom were both vets, right? That's a pretty crazy thing.
So yeah, both my parents, dad was Army vet, served in Vietnam. My mom was an Air Force vet, or is an Air Force vet, not was. Both of them are veterans. I have two uncles that are veterans. I believe both served in Vietnam as well. I have not a big influence of military in my family, but I have a lot of veterans that are in my family. Growing up, I never thought about the military until I was in my teens. You spoke about it. 9/11 really hit home with me. I was in high school when it happened.
Damn, you're old, dude.
Yeah,
no
dude.
wonder I don't have a beard like yours. I still got time.
Yeah, you'll get there one day. Don't worry.
If I flex hard enough.
Yeah. Sorry, I just pictured you like flexing and just like, poof, here's your beard.
I try
Like,
it
that
a
would
lot,
be amazing.
actually.
That would be
When
so
I
funny.
get drunk enough, I try it. It doesn't work.
It's so funny.
So 9/11 was fucked.
Yeah, man, 9/11 was crazy. I was walking through the halls at Linwood High School, the old one that used to sink. And I was walking through the halls, and I remember my history teacher's like, "Get in here," and I'm like, "I don't have you yet. Like, it's second period. What are you talking about?" He's like, "Get in here," and like he pulled me into the classroom, and like he had it on the TV, And
Oh,
I
you
was
mean that
like,
the old ones that were like big and fat
yeah, the
boxy?
big box TVs. He had it on the TV and we were watching it live. And I was like, "What's going on?" He's like, "There was a terrorist attack and there was a plane that flew into one of the Twin Towers." And I'm like,
Like we
"Oh
have
my
twins that are
god."
towers?
Exactly. I'm like, "Oh
What?
my gosh, like this is crazy." And then as we were watching it, the second plane, like I watched on live TV the second plane fly into the Twin Towers and instantly was just like infuriated. Like I
Yeah.
was so mad. I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like there's terrorists out there that are doing this. This is unacceptable." Um and then uh all of that kind of like it didn't dwindle away. Like that was a big impact through high school was that.
I think it changed our country completely.
Oh, it did. Most definitely. On my 18th birthday, again, mom and dad, you have no idea about this. Love you guys. Sorry I never told you. My 18th birthday was a Sunday. That Monday, I went to school. After school, went to the recruiting office down by the Alderwood Mall for the Marine Corps. I wanted to be a
Yeah.
Marine.
I did that too.
Now, mind you, through high school, okay, so we'll back up here a little bit because you threw me off on that question. So I guess we'll stop there. Yes, I did think about the military.
Mhm.
To answer your question.
Okay.
So, and you said you had another question, so we'll come into it.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Oh, well, shit. Well, I was asking, what drove you to do that? Was it your mom and dad, or what
Oh,
was it? And you
it
said
was
9/11. So.
mom and dad 9/11. That was a big one. So leading up to 9/11, in middle school, I was still smoking cigarettes. I actually got busted at my middle school by my math teacher. I was smoking a cigarette right after wood shop. I went behind the wood shop and I was smoking a cigarette and I got busted. And
What they say? Give me one.
no, dude,
Oh,
he like what's crazy is like I was smoking a cigarette with another guy and I like flicked mine like out, like flicked it out, made sure it wasn't like nobody could see it, and I walked past the teacher as he was walking back there. And the guy that I was smoking a cigarette with, his name's Jordan. He ratted me out, bro.
snitch.
And he was like, I wasn't the only one out here because he still had a cigarette in his hand. He's like, I wasn't the only one here smoking, and Russell was here smoking.
Dude, why? Why
And,
snitch?
like,
You
he
fucking
was terrified. I don't know what I don't know if he thought he was gonna get,
a McDonald's
like, a
dog for snitching.
leniency, like, disciplinary act or what, but he totally
Jesus
snitched
Christ.
me out. I got, like, 3 days in-house suspension for that. Um, and, some parents that were extremely pissed at me. And told that if I ever smoked a cigarette again, they would buy me a carton of cigarettes and a couple of cigars and make me smoke them until I puked, because then I'd never want to smoke a cigarette again.
I've heard that like 100 times.
Yeah. So little did
Never
they
seen it
know,
happen.
I just hid my smoking from everybody at that point. I was
Oh.
like, well, I'm just not going to get caught then.
Oh.
Um, the
The
guy
games
that
began.
pretty much, the guy that bought me my cigarettes, became my drug dealer my freshman year of high school.
How
He
did that
was
pop off?
Well, he was buying my cigarettes when I was in 7th and 8th grade. So he one day he asked me, "Hey, have you ever tried smoking weed?" And I was like, "Nope." He's like, "You want to try it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I knew a guy in high school that smoked weed. Um, so I told him, I'm like, "Hey, dude, I got this freaking bag of weed, dude, but I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to smoke it." So he's like, "Dude, come over to my house. We'll smoke it." I'm like, all right. Smoked weed. Um, got super high
Yeah.
and uh yeah, was kind of like hooked on it after that. Still smoked cigarettes occasionally, but I stepped up the game. So I was now smoking something a little bit higher. I was getting high every time I smoked it versus the nicotine buzz. I wasn't getting that because I'd been smoking cigarettes for so long that I never got the nicotine rush from
And
them.
you were the hand and mouth
Yeah.
thing was just taking over.
Yep. And so like from that point on, it was like, okay, now I'm stepping into this. I'm getting high. Like this is cool. My first party I went to, I was a freshman in high school. Um, smoked a bunch of weed. It was the first time smoking out of a bong, and it was like a 4-foot bong. I went into the room where everybody was smoking, and one of the seniors that I knew looked at me and was like, "If you can clear that, I will be impressed." And I was like,
I
"All
can't wait
right."
to impress you.
I'm like, "Dude,
What's this?
I've been smoking cigarettes since I was like 12, bro. My lungs are fried. I can clear this all day long." So they packed the bowl, they lit it. I made the chamber completely look like a super foggy day, like you could not see through it. They pulled the pulled the plug off of it, the bowl, and I just inhaled and cleared the whole thing and just sat there for a second
With your eyes
and was
exploding.
just like, "Bah," and I exhaled. He was like, "Holy shit, dude. That was that was impressive." And I remember just sitting there like, "Oh man, I've never been this high before. Like this is crazy." Sitting on a couch at this guy's apartment. Actually, I don't even know whose apartment it was. It was somebody's apartment. Sitting there, and I'm higher than a kite. And I have a guy walk up. He's like, "Hey man, you hungry?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, here." Hands me, he's holding pizza in his hand. And I'm like, "Oh man, mushroom pizza? Love mushrooms, dude." Har. 2 pieces of pizza, just scarfed him down. He's standing there staring at me, and I'm like, "Those tasted really bad, dude." And he's like, "I've never seen somebody eat 2 slices of shroom pizza before." And I'm like looking at him,
Oh
and I'm
no.
like, "Huh?" And he's like, "Shroom pizza. Normally people take 1 slice and they share it between like 2 people." I'm like, "Bro, I just cleared a 4-foot bong and you're handing me pizza. And I'm a fat kid. Like this is just
This is a
dumb,
recipe
dude.
for
Like
you're
you're
going off.
lucky I didn't take the whole pizza and just eat it."
You're going off, dude.
So, needless to say, the walls melted that night. The ceiling looked like water.
Snow White and
And
the Dwarfs walk through singing a song.
oh no, I watched a whole episode of the Smurfs on a TV that wasn't even on. You're trying not to laugh.
No, I'm about to say I've been there. I've watched something.
I
I've watched something. No, I haven't personally watched something. I've witnessed
oh
somebody.
man.
She was trying to. One of my good friends was trying to tell me to shut off the TV, and the TV was not fucking on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the TV's not on. Relax.
Yeah.
Just turn it off.
Yeah.
The TV's not fucking on. Like
So
it's
that
hilarious.
episode of Smurfs was the craziest episode ever. So I'm sitting at the end of the couch, right? I'm just watching this episode. And I leaned forward like, "Oh my god." And everybody's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Dude, they pushed him out of the TV." So I got up, I walked over, I picked up this what would be invisible Smurf, and I smacked the TV with my hand and pushed him back into the dude, it's so crazy that it's so vivid in my brain. Like it's just embedded in my
It'll
head.
never go away, bro.
No. And I pushed him into the TV and then I went and sat back down. And everybody's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Watch the Smurfs, leave me alone." And I'm like sitting there and I'm watching it. And then everybody, again, now mind you, I'm a freshman at a senior party. So all these seniors are just
They're just like,
loving this guy, dude.
oh my
They're
god,
like,
what have
"Great,
we
we
done?
we got the freshman here and he's
Crazy
higher than a
monster.
kite." So I'm like sitting there and I'm watching it. I'm like, "Oh man." And then the next thing I know is like all the Smurfs are like coming out of the TV and they're walking across this carpet and they climb up on the couch and they have a cake for me. And they put it in my hand and it said "thank you" on it. They thanked me for putting him back in their show and they made me a cake, dude. And
Was this
I
in your mind or
it was in my mind, dude.
okay?
I'm higher than a kite, right? And I'm envisioning like this is all happening and I'm like seeing it firsthand. Nobody else in the room is seeing it, but I am. And so I grab this cake and I like start eating it and I'm like, "It's so good. Thank you guys." And then they leave. And then I black out. I don't really remember the rest of the evening. Um, I woke up to somebody stepping on my left shoulder, climbing out the window because apparently I passed out on the floor in the bedroom. The next thing I know is somebody's dropping a bag like right next to my chest. And I'm like, "What the heck is this? I don't know what this is." So I just kind of grab a hold of it and I fall asleep.
bag.
Yeah. Like kind of like a Crown Royal bag, like that cloth bag.
Oh,
And so like I grab a hold of it and I'm just holding it. And the next thing I know is somebody's trying to grab this bag from me. And I don't know what's in this bag. So I'm holding it. And I was like, "You're not taking the bag. Like, I don't care what you're doing, you're not taking the bag." And my eyes are closed, like, I'm tired,
Mhm.
and
The
all
day
I know is
after.
whatever is in this bag, somebody wants, and I don't know what it is, but they're not getting it from me. And I hear, "Young man, are you the designated driver?" And I open my eyes, and there's a cop standing above me, and I'm, like, looking at him, and I'm like,
Where am I? I
"Y
don't know what's going on.
yes, I am, officer. How can I help you?" Instantly sober, dude.
Ooh,
Instantly sober. I saw law enforcement, and I don't know what I'm holding, but he said designated driver, so apparently the bag I'm holding is keys, is where my brain went. I'm like, "Yes, officer, I am. How can I help you?" And he's like, "Oh, can you go ahead and stand up for me?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I stand up, and he's like, "Can I see inside the bag?" "Yep, here you go." Hand him the bag. Opens it, and he's like, "Is this everybody's car keys?" I'm like, "Yes, sir, it is." He's like, "You're not letting anybody drive." I'm like, "No, sir, I'm not." It's good to see that we have somebody here that's using their right mind. Now, mind you, hours before this, I'm tripping balls watching Smurfs on the TV that's not even on. But apparently, I'm instant sober when law enforcement shows up.
surprise, surprise. Some
So,
people got the gift.
some people do, and apparently it's me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I somehow miraculously got out of a lot of freaking trouble,
Oh yeah.
because that would have been jail, that would have been mom and dad, so I would have been sitting in jail still, um, because my parents always told me if I got in trouble for being
To
stupid,
own up to
not to
that shit.
call them because they'd leave me there. So I know for a fact if I would have had to make a phone call that night, like, I would have just been like, "Nah, I'll save my phone call because I'm not calling mom and dad and telling them I'm in jail because that would have been bad. That would have been really bad." Um, so yeah, I pretty much experimented through high school with drugs, all while my mom went through breast cancer. She had breast, spine, and lymph node cancer. So I would go to school. I would come home. I would take care of my mom. My dad would come home, pick me up, take me to work because I had a full time job. He would come home, take care of mom. While I was at work, when I would close, I would always smoke a little bit, like an hour, hour and a half before the closing. So I would work a couple hours of my shift high. Working at a car wash, it's not really that big of a deal. Um, and then dad would come pick me up, and then I'd go home, I'd do my homework, and then I'd go to bed, come back. Um, that was pretty much my freshman and I think a little bit of my sophomore year. Um, my some of my classmates knew I was a partier, some of them didn't. Teachers didn't know I was a partier. Parents didn't know I was a partier. Um, I was my freshman year. I played varsity football, played varsity all the way through high school. Um, my freshman year, I was on the golf team and played varsity for our school for golf. So I was involved in sports. I was involved in my school. Like I did a lot of stuff when we'd have our assemblies. I had a full time job. I had good grades. And nobody really knew unless you saw me at the party. Nobody knew that I was feeding demons. Um, that were there. And
What were those demons?
um I didn't really know at the time, like still to this day, like I don't really know what all of my demons were. I think that a lot of my demons were again being bullied at such a young age, that lack of self-confidence, um being the heavier guy still to this day, my pretty much my entire life I've been the heavy guy. Um and a lot of it came down to like the self-confidence, and then in the back of my mind was what was wrong with me that people didn't want to get to know the real me. Didn't
Jesus.
want to know who I was as a person. And only wanted to poke the bear, make fun of the fat kid, party with the guy that always seemed to have drugs. I never dealt drugs. I just always had them. And that was because seventh and eighth grade, knowing my dealer, who was my cigarette guy, and then in freshman year, knew him as my supplier for different drugs. Um,
Yeah.
I always seemed to have drugs on me. So if there was a party, like I knew I could get stuff for it. So I would make sure people, if I didn't go to the party, I still supplied the drugs that were at the party, but I didn't pay for any of it. I was kind of the middle guy. Like
The middleman, yeah.
I would take the money from them, tell my dealer this is what they want. He would give it to me. I would give it to them. And then I sometimes wouldn't even go to parties.
Yeah, I've been a middleman before. Yeah.
Um, and so did that all the way through high school. Um, my my best friend, Mario, he had no idea through high school that I was doing drugs, that I was supplying drugs, that any of that. He had no idea until like last year when we were talking about it, and he was like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. Like I was doing drugs like pretty regularly. Like I was the guy that senior year having home ec, and for you youngsters, home ec is actually where they taught you how to cook for yourself in school. I was the guy that brought weed and made double batches of cookies so I could give my teacher the regular cookies, and then I could take the packaged ones and slide those to the homies in the hallways for marijuana cookies. Um, Never got caught doing it, but I did it. Everybody knew Russell's got home ec, yo. He's gonna have cookies after class. Like everybody knew. Um, and then let's see. So now we're up to my 18th birthday. 18th birthday, I knew my life was going nowhere.
It
I
seems
just
to be a very, very similar thing when people think about the word military.
Yep. I knew that my life was going nowhere. And I told myself it's sink or swim. You're either going to go and do something with your life, or in 5 years you're not going to be here. Like you're not. There's no way you're going to be here in 5 years. So the day after my 18th birthday, I walked into the Marine Corps recruiting office in Linwood, right here by the mall. And the recruiter was like, "How can I help you?" I'm like, "I want to be a Marine." And he was like, "You want to be a Marine?" I'm like, "Yes, sir. I want to go wherever the terrorists are. I want to fucking kill them."
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And
Right on, Russell. But
he's
cheers,
like,
man. Come on, pour up. Hold on.
"Oh,
Hold on.
crack yours.
Y'all
Come
gotta
on.
wait.
That's why
Crack
you."
yours too.
"Oh, I can't because you poured it in a
Whatever.
glass."
Cheers
Cheers.
to being a savage.
And the Marine Corps guy looked at the recruiter, looked at me, and he's like, "You want to go and kill terrorists, huh?"
Fuck yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I do." I was like, "They're pieces of shit. I want to kill them all." And he's like, "Why do you really want to join the military?" And I looked at him and I got goosebumps again. I looked at him and I was like, "Because I'm going to fucking die if I don't." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "I'm addicted to drugs. I need somebody that's going to push me to be a greater version of myself than I think I can ever be."
Mm.
And he looked at me and he was like, "That's the reason you're in this office. Not because you want to kill somebody. It's because you want yourself to die, because you want the greater person inside of you to come out.
Mm.
You want this version of you to die. You want the inner version of you to come out." And I looked at him and I was like, "That's what I want. That's what I want. I want this guy to not be here anymore. I want the real me to come out." I was like, "And the military is the only way that I want to do it." And he's like, "Why didn't you go to the army?" I'm like, "I don't want to go to the army. I want to be a Marine." And he was like, "Why?" I was like, "Because you guys are like the baddest motherfuckers out there." And he was like, "All right, cool." So he had me like sit down, we talked, and he had me do like the preliminary PT tests, which is like sit ups, push ups, pull-ups, which to this day I still can't do a pull-up on my own. I've never done a pull-up in my entire life because of the mass underneath me. The arms are not strong enough to get me up, but I will get there one
Is
day.
it a
I
goal?
know that is a goal. I will get there one day.
When we're done with this, I'm gonna have you read this book, and I promise you this: you're gonna be doing a pull-up
All right.
like within a year
Okay.
or less.
That's a deal.
Like
I'm
it's
starting back in the
really
gym on Monday.
good. Me too.
So while I was doing the the crunches or the sit-ups and the push-ups, I had an asthma attack, which I've never had an asthma attack in my entire life. To this day, I've never had an asthma attack. And he goes, "You told me you didn't have asthma," and I'm like, "I don't." And he ended up like calming me down.
Anxiety attack?
No, it was straight up like I couldn't breathe, like nothing. Like it was full on. It was either anxiety or it was an asthma attack. He was pretty adamant it was asthma.
Well, because anxiety wasn't really a thing when we were growing up. Was
Yeah,
it?
no, it wasn't. Like
Like shut up, bitch.
exactly.
Be a man or
Be a man up.
Not
Don't
very,
show your emotions.
not very helpful.
Yeah. So he was like, "Well, you honestly have asthma." And I was like, "Well, I know that I like when I was younger, I had sports induced asthma when I was like a little kid and I had an inhaler, but I've never had a flare up. Like I play sports now and I've never had an issue. Like I don't need one." And he's like, "Well, I can't take you because you have asthma. You cannot be a Marine because you have asthma." And I looked at him and was like, "So basically what you're telling me is in 5 years I'm going to be dead." That was my turning point. That was when it wasn't sink or swim. It was at that point it was sinking.
He should wait. He failed really bad. For a lot of reasons. And the one thing I'm going to say is this: he could easily say, "Just walk into the army office and don't do what you just did."
He could have.
That's what I would have fucking told you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Yep.
For real.
So, excuse me if you guys can hear me chewing. I'm eating Good and Plenty's because they're tasty.
Black licorice is abhorrent. It's a scourge. Red licorice or no licorice.
Oh. So yeah, so I left the recruiting office. I didn't tell anybody that I went there. Just I left. I think I went to work, but I wasn't scheduled to work. Got some snacks and then I went home. Graduated high school, still doing drugs. I never did like the hardcore stuff because I saw what meth and crack and coke and stuff did to my family.
So what were you, if you don't mind me asking, what was your drug of choice at the champ?
My DOC, which is drug of choice. I liked shrooms. I liked the hallucinogenics, but I also liked pharmaceuticals.
So
Like oxys, yeah, opiates and stuff like that.
I call it heroin light.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Sorry, I apologize. I don't do that anymore. Now that I heard about Suboxone and stuff like that, I call Suboxone heroin light.
Suboxone
and
is
Adderall
crazy.
is meth light.
Yes.
I call them.
And so I did a lot of pharmaceuticals, painkillers, oxys, weed, shrooms, acid, ecstasy. Again, mom, dad, you guys didn't know any of this, so I love you guys, and I'm here today as the person I am, not the person I was. Dabbled in drugs. After high school, I got a job working at the AMC Theater, that's right out here outside the Alderwood Mall. I actually was part of the new hire crew that opened that place.
The big one?
Yep, the big one right outside the mall. I worked there like 5.5 months after I started working there just as like a regular old floor staff. I got promoted to a supervisor because I was so driven and crazy. I was a drug addict. I was a functioning drug addict.
So you mean to tell me that from your perspective, you could not live without drugs at that point? You had to.
Correct.
You had to do
correct.
It.
Very much so.
That was like a real thought in your mind.
Very much so.
Man, so like I've met a lot of functioning drug addicts before, and it always hurts me that we as humans get to a point where we're like, oh, like I have to do this thing or I don't feel normal. Like, hey, somebody gives a fuck about you. Somebody cares. Somebody loves you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never understand it because I've never been addicted. I've been surrounded by people addicted to things my whole life.
Yep.
Whether it's alcohol, pornography, cheating on their partner. That's an addiction that some people have in the military around me. It's disgusting. And there's so many different addictions out there. Was there like a turning point where you chose like just one thing? Or were you just dabbling in everything, trying to escape society?
Uh, hmm. So, wow. I think the turning point for me was I almost said the first time I did acid. It was probably the second time I did acid. Um, so up to the point when I was working at the movie theater, I wasn't doing acid or no, I did ecstasy a couple of times in high school. I wasn't doing acid. Um, and I had only done painkillers a couple of times. Um, so first time I did acid was with a couple of guys when we worked at the movie theater. Um, there was a laser show down in Seattle, and they were doing the laser show to uh, I can't even remember the Pink Floyd album now.
Is
But
it
it
the
was
one with the triangle on it?
yep.
Yes. The
So
laser show in Seattle Center.
yeah,
I watched the same one as
so
a kid. We had it. It was like whatever, a field trip.
yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about. It was
yeah.
so cool.
So the first time I did acid, they came and they picked me up. Mom and dad were gone. I'm like, they're like, hey, this is a hit of acid. I was like, okay. They're like, we're gonna go down to the laser show and trip balls on acid and watch the laser show. And I was like, all right, whatever. So I freaking do the acid. I thought they had already taken the acid. Nope, nope, nope. So we're on I-5. It's kind of dark out. Going to the last show of the Pink Floyd experience down there, and the acid hits me. And acid will make colors very, very vibrant. So it will take like a dull green and make it look like a neon green. It'll take a neon green and make it look like a green that you have never seen. But it'll also kind of stretch out the colors.
Do movies do a good job of depicting this, or do they suck?
Um, Sometimes they're pretty close to accurate. Most times they kind of suck, especially the actors. Like you can tell if an actor's actually ever been distorted from drugs because their reaction's genuine to what is going to happen.
Because I watched some shows and I'm like, what
So
the hell is
so
going
when
on
when
here?
you
Like,
see in a movie that the guy like freaking like takes like a hit of ecstasy or something and instantly is high, no, it doesn't. It takes a little bit to
or mushrooms
actually
in the ground's melting away.
exactly. Yeah, no, it yeah. Um, so the first time I did acid, like I said, we were in the car, and all of a sudden I've got white lights from the northbound traffic going this way, and I've got red lights for the southbound traffic going past me. And it's like strips of light in slow motion going by me and coming towards me. And I'm
Like the
like,
Pink Floyd album cover.
yeah. So
Jesus
I
Christ.
like start sweating and I look at my buddy and I'm like, pull over, pull over. And he's like, bro, we're on the freeway. I'm like, pull over. I'm going to puke. He's like, did you take the acid? Yeah, didn't you guys? I'm like, how are you guys not tripping balls right now? Like, this is freaking intense. And he's like, bro, we got to wait until we get there. And I'm like, dude, I already took it. Pull over. I'm going to puke in your car. We were doing 43 miles an hour on the freeway when he was getting over, and I opened his car door to puke out the door because I didn't want to puke in his car. And I threw up and I sat back up, shut his door, and I was like, turn around, take me home. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm never doing acid again. Never doing acid again. So he turned around, drove me home, dropped me off. I went to
Hey, at least
bed.
he dropped you off.
Yeah,
That's good.
he dropped me off. He knew, don't dick around with Russell, like drop him off. So he dropped me off. They turned around, went back down to Seattle for the show. I went to bed, woke up the next day and was like, I told myself never doing acid again. That was horrible. I don't know what the joy of that was. Well, and then like A month goes by and he comes up. He's like, "Hey, I got tickets for the Pink Floyd laser show." I'm like, "Cool." He's like, "You're coming." I'm like, "All right, I'll go. But you're not going to do the acid till we're in line." I was like, "I'm not doing acid at all, dude." And he's like, "Okay, all right, I'll respect that." So we go down, go to Seattle. It's the four of us again. We get there and they're doing their acid. And he looks at me. He's like, "You want it?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I took it. Go in. And you know how the seats are, bro. You're like reclined and you're looking straight up at the roof, right?
Yeah.
And you're sitting there and now envision like you feel weightless and you're looking up at the star, like at this building, and you're just sitting there. And then all of a sudden you see this light show up right here. And it goes pew, across the thing. And you look and you're like, whoa. Because it's now, mind you, this is all like lasers are pretty bright.
Yeah.
Now imagine neon lasers going
So it's
across the
completely
sky.
immersive.
Yeah, completely immersive. Like I'm just like in awe of what I'm seeing. I'm like, whoa. And then another laser goes by and I'm like, whoa. Totally enthralled in this show, dude.
Like a
It
little
was
baby
it was
when you
the
see light for the first time.
exactly, dude. Like those videos on the internet when you see the babies going through the tunnel and they're like freaking out for a second, like, what the hell is going on? That was me in this laser show. And the laser show gets over, and I'm like, guys, that was probably the coolest experience I've ever had in my entire life. And they were like, "You like it?" And I'm like, "I loved it." I sit up, I stand up. The guy in front of me turns around, looks at me, and goes, "Laser shows are pretty dope when you're on acid, huh?" And I was like, "Yep." Didn't even try to deny it or anything because he knew. Was like, very, very much so. Um,
Were you really out loud saying "whoa" the
oh
whole
yeah,
time?
the whole time, dude, because it was dope, bro. Like it was so dope. Like
Oh no!
everybody else in this room
Whoa!
is
I can
seeing,
imagine
bro.
sitting like a couple aisles over for you. That who the fuck is this guy that keeps talking to this horse?
Bro,
Like, just stop, horse!
it was so funny because like it was
Whoa!
just like everybody else is seeing like shoo, shoo, shoo.
Like it's boring.
Me, I'm seeing pew, boo, and then here comes the blue, boo, and you're just like, oh my god, they're all in slow motion. You get to experience everything super slow.
So it heightens
Yeah, oh, very
every
much so.
single
Yeah,
like molecule of
color,
light in the world.
everything, dude. It's crazy. Um, totally enthralled. Like I just was so into that. And that was my turning point. I went from doing a bunch of different drugs to I didn't do acid after that point. Like I thought that was just probably going to be the highlight. Now mind you, like I knew when you do so much drugs, like you have to do twice as much the next time to get high again. Like it's a very much a roller coaster. Like you have like a ton of momentum on that first hit that takes you way up here and then you drop. And then the second hit, you've got to do even more to get back up there. Otherwise, you're going to fall short of it. So in my head, I knew, or I thought I knew, if I do acid again, I'm going to have to do more acid to get that experience. And I don't want to ever lose that experience
So
because it
chasing
was,
dragons, I think is the term.
there you go. Yeah. So I told myself, I don't want to have to do this. So I'm never going to do acid again. I never touched acid again because of how, I don't want to say amazing it was.
How powerful?
Yeah, how powerful it was that I experienced a show that I can never describe to anybody.
And nobody ever experienced except for you, because it was in
Exactly.
your
Like
mind
it
and it was
was
changing.
it was just amazing.
It's like reversing the polarity in life
Yeah.
of certain aspects, like to control how we see, how we think, how we smell,
Mhm.
the vibrations we feel it as we touch this couch right here. The vibrations change as your hand starts across it.
Yeah.
Textures are extreme. Like it's like walking over a flat desert in Kansas, and then bam, mountains. Like it's that's
Very
the
much
easiest way
so.
I can describe it.
Yeah. Walking on a nice
From what
beach.
I've heard from other people,
Yeah.
of course.
Walking on a nice beach, nice beautiful sand and then hitting that patch of super sharp rocks and you're like, "Ah." That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
So, after doing that and having that experience, it was I only wanted to do pharmaceuticals, so painkillers. That became my DOC. Painkillers and weed.
In what form? Were you like smoking beans or popping
I
pills,
was
snorting them?
very much I was a pill popper. I
Not a snorter.
never smoked them. I snorted it once, didn't like that. It burned too much.
And the drip.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Um, but I got to the point where, again, a functioning drug addict. When I was at work, I couldn't obviously pop pills because after a couple hours into my shift, it would wear off. So what I would do is I would take the painkillers and I would crush them up and I would put them inside of a tea bag
And
and
you put it under your tongue.
I would put it in the back of my cheek.
Oh.
Um,
Like kind of like dip.
yeah, kind of like a dip. So I could do 3 pills in one tea bag, folded up, and that would last me like 9 hours. And I would stay steadily high the entire
It's like a
time.
slow drip kind of
Yeah.
thing. Okay. Because
Um,
you're salivating it and it's dissolving and
yep.
okay.
Now mind you, again, started at the movie theater. 6 months later, I got promoted because they thought I was such an amazing employee. 6 months after that, actually, I don't even think it was 6 months. It was like 4.5. I got promoted to management because they were like, dude, this guy's a rock star. He wants to work. I've always had that drive of wanting to work. I have a full-time job and I'm trying to start my own business right now. Like, work ethic is something that's just been embedded in me my entire life, and I'll never stop that. And I never did, even though I was higher than a kite or drunk half the time at work. Like, it didn't matter. When I got promoted to management, I was their like facilities manager at the movie theater. So I did all the repairs. I repaired seats, reupholstered the seats, fixed pretty much anything that would break. The popcorn poppers, I
Yeah.
knew how to fix those. I knew how to replace parts.
I know somebody who has that job at Regal. For all like from the North Seattle all the way down.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
I work on escalators.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! I just told the truth. Okay, well I work on escalators at Regal. Okay,
Yeah.
so when I show up, I have a lot of dealings with that person,
Yeah.
and they're usually smarter than most people that work there.
Yep. I had a very close connection with the elevator and escalator repair guys at my theater because people would do stupid shit and they would break them.
Such stupid shit.
Dude, break them all
You know
the
how much
time.
fucking popcorn is inside of an
A
escalator at a movie
lot.
theater?
A lot.
Enough to kill a dead dog.
Yeah. I'm actually really surprised. Like, there's not, you might be able to attest to this. I never saw a dead rat inside of an escalator at a movie theater.
Dude,
You probably have, though.
you find all sorts of shit in there. But if I told you, I could tell you the top 5 things I found: a diamond, a magazine from a gun. Yeah, somebody was in their job. This is on a different contract.
Dang, that's gun safety on its own.
We just took over the contract, and there was a gap in the escalator. They didn't do it right. There's a big ass gap. Somebody dropped a magazine down that little slot. I found
That's good gun ownership for you.
Yes. Well, you know what? Now it's my magazine.
I was gonna say now I bet it's
so
in this house.
It's mine. Yes, it is. Lucky grab. So
Perfect.
I've also found, dude. I found rats. I found, sadly, pieces of people's body that kind of severed off during an incident.
I had that happen with a little kid at the movie theater,
and there was
horrible.
And I think the worst one was like part of a dog.
Oh,
it was not a fun thing to be around. Things happen, dude. It's not fun, but that's just shit I find. Like,
yeah,
is what it is. They come with the territory. If you're in one of the most high paid jobs in America, you're gonna deal with the most high paid bullshit. So
this is very true.
Which is why I'm not like open. I am open to changing careers. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Once my wife gets all situated and after, her hair business is rocking, it's already rocking, but when she get like when she gets her license passed and all that, yeah, maybe. But right now I start picking up all sorts of things at escalators. There's a lot of hair. A lot of hair in escalators. I don't want to talk about it.
That's
Sound
gross.
Transit.
Yeah.
My favorite contract.
Oh, you like it.
I love it, dude. I love it. I love it. You want me to do my job?
Yeah.
When most people complain, I'll do it. Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure you did that, and that's why you rose to the ranks. Because fucking sober or not, you did the job.
Yep.
And that's all what people want as far as management. They want accountability. Just show up and do your job and shut up and go home.
Exactly.
It's like authoritarian regimes, but this is America.
Yeah.
So
so I worked at the movie theater for a few years. Partied way too much at the movie theater, outside the movie theater. Like, I got to know a lot of really great people at the time. Now that I look at it, they were there because I had what they wanted.
That sucks.
Now, mind you, I'm in my early 20s at this point. My dealer, who I've known since 7th grade, is still my dealer now. And it was, or not now, excuse me, at that point, like, not now, not right now. There would be too many people that would kick my ass if it was right now. So at that point, he was still my dealer in my early 20s. And this is when things kind of took a turn for, I will say, the better, even though it's a dark area that I turned into. There was a girl that worked at the movie theater that was somebody I thought she liked me. Ended up, like, she just wanted me there because she knew I had the drugs. When I found out, I was pretty upset. That here's this girl I thought liked me but didn't like me.
Stuff hurts, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
No
look at
matter
it
how
now
hard
and
you
I'm like,
get
it doesn't
stuff.
even matter, dude. Like, I don't even care now. But back then that was, like, detrimental. I'm like, dude, like, she talks to me all the time. Like, I thought we were, like, kind of working towards, like, a date. And then here comes the bullying. When I asked her out, she laughed, rejected me, and then told everybody, "Oh yeah, Russell thought I liked him, blah 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 blah." So now everybody's like, "Oh,
That's
Russell
bullshit.
likes
Like,
her." Like,
and that just shows how really honestly selfish and horrible she is. Because
exactly.
if you're not secure enough in your relationship and don't have enough confidence in
Yeah,
yourself, that you need to bring somebody else down.
exactly.
Like, if you had enough, if you were a really hot shit, this wouldn't even catch your radar because you'd have so much attention. And
Yeah.
that shows how pathetic people can be. And I've seen guys do the same thing too.
Oh yeah.
I've checked my boys before. I'm like, dude, don't be a fucking asshole. Someone tried to give you some of their attention, and you're like, turn them down, and now you drag their name through the mud.
Exactly.
Be a grown ass motherfucker and don't do that.
Yeah. So when that happened, that was kind of like the detrimental, dark turning point for me. I became a recluse. I didn't talk to anybody at the movie theater.
It's a scary word, dude.
A recluse?
Don't say that word.
Oh
No,
yeah, you're not
you told me the story.
you're not a speeder guy. That's right.
No, you can keep them things away.
I became a hermit. There you go. That's a
Okay.
crab. We'll take a hermit. Sorry about that.
I started to sweat over here.
I became a hermit. I didn't talk to anybody at the movie theater. I didn't associate with people at the movie theater. I went in, I did my job, I went home. Secluded myself from my parents, secluded myself from my family. Had no purpose in life. And I saw myself becoming a person that I didn't even recognize looking in the
Did your
mirror.
parents see that change in you as
Oh
well?
yeah, most definitely. They
Did
did.
they try to talk to you, or?
No. Every time they'd try, I'd just kind of brush it off. Like, I'm fine. I'm just tired. I'm working weird hours. Which at the movie theater, it's 365 days a year. There's no holidays. Like, you're working all the time. And as their only maintenance guy at that theater, I was on call 24/7. So I could go home after the end of my, like, 10-hour shift, get called back out and work another 10-hour shift if they
Shit's
needed
weird,
to
yeah.
me. And so, like, I just kept brushing it off, telling mom and dad everything's fine. I'm just tired. Inside, I'm like, I'm dying. Like, I knew I was dying. Like, I'm done. And then it just kept feeding back to that day after my 18th birthday, looking that recruiter in the face saying, I'm going to be dead in 5 years. I know I'm going to be dead in 5 years.
It's a scary thing.
Yeah.
So the spiral continues.
Yep, the spiral continued. It just kept going and going and going and getting worse and worse and worse.
What were some feelings that you can say, like, if you could put it in words, what are some feelings that you felt deep in your heart, like, about yourself, about your situation?
Hate, anger, disgust. I hated myself. I hated myself. Everything about me, I hated. I had absolutely no love in my heart for myself. I was angry. I was angry for myself or at myself for allowing this all to happen. I was angry at God for letting this happen to me. Growing up, I went to church every Sunday. I went to every Wednesday, I went to youth group. Like, I was very much a godly kid. And then drugs happened, and I was just angry. I was angry at myself. How did you let this happen? Angry at God. Why did you let this happen? Like, this is horrible. You're supposed to love me, and this is what you're doing. This is horrible. Um, I was disgusted because of my lifestyle. Um, I had nothing to show for myself. I had nothing to show of my hard work because I was high all the time. I was getting money, I was paying my bills, and then I was getting drugs. Um, and it came down to a point where I was filled with so much anger and hate that I wrote a suicide letter. I didn't know who to talk to. Back then, we didn't have the suicide hotlines that we do now. I didn't know who to talk to. And in my letter, I went off on myself. I went off on God. And it's actually something that's kind of crazy is you said it. I made notes listening to your
shit.
podcast.
Oh God.
Um,
I just
uh,
be saying things sometimes, and I hope it doesn't slap me in the
no,
face.
it was something that you had said that you were talking about if you were there at, I think, your dad's point in his life that you would kill him yourself.
Yeah.
I wrote that in my letter to God, and I told God, if you were alive right now, I would kill you because of what you let happen to my life.
Damn.
I was so angry with God. I was filled with so much hate and so
And
many
rage,
demons and
dude.
rage. I was just angry all the time, and I didn't know how to let it go. I didn't know how to get rid of it.
Have you seen the Harry Potter movies?
Oh, yeah.
So and this ties into what I'm saying. When Daniel Radcliffe says, "I'm so
Harry
angry
Potter, for those that don't
all the
know.
time."
Yeah.
That I've never heard anybody say that until then, other than but now you as
Yeah.
well. And that is such like a crazy powerful thing to say.
Oh,
To
yeah.
like to recognize that you're not okay.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot of balls, man, honestly, to say it. So thank you
Yeah.
for opening
Of
up.
course.
I don't want to like fuck up your shit, but I
No.
wanted to tell you that it's amazing that you can look back and recognize that you're better than that.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. So you're
So
still a race, dude.
oh, yeah. Yeah, so I was dude, that letter was horrible. That was the darkest time. I did not see any light in my life. I saw demons. I can honestly, truthfully tell you, I looked my demons in the face and fought them every single day to not end my life. Every day I woke up, it wasn't, "Oh, man, look, the sun's shining." It's, "Hey, I know you, I know you, I know you, and I know you. Let's drink, let's do some pills, let's do some other stupid stuff because that's what we're doing today."
Just
I'd
off on a tangent of
Yep.
self destruction,
Mhm.
pouring your own pain into a substance of
Yep.
whatever form you can get,
Yep.
and obviously say you didn't do the top three or whatever,
Yeah.
but wow, that's it's tough, dude. It honestly like sitting here. I've never like we never you never told
No.
me these things. I
No.
never shared me with these. It's tough to sit here and listen to you talk about feeling that way, man. Because obviously I care about you like a
Oh,
lot,
yeah.
and I've had other friends who felt that way, and you know what happens? They're not here anymore,
Yep.
and it just shows really how strong you are and how self conscious you are with everything you've said so far.
Yeah.
You're a very self conscious individual,
Oh, very much
but
so.
in all the right ways.
Yeah.
You,
I
you say, wait a second, this is something is not right. It's like Madeline on Disney Channel when we grew up.
Mhm.
Something is not right, you
Yeah.
know.
I think a lot before I it's weird, like, you know me, dude, like, if we're having just a off the wall conversation, I don't think about what's coming out of my mouth. It's just there.
I just throw things at the
Yeah, I
wall.
just throw things and hope something sticks every once in a
My
while.
wife sometimes looks at me and said, "Did you just say that shit like
And
that?"
then you have to think about what you said. You're like, "Wait, what did I say? Hold on. Oh, Yeah, I did say that, I'm sorry. But when I'm having, like, a heartfelt conversation, like, I think about every word I'm gonna say because it's in here, it's in my heart, and it's in my gut, and it's in my soul. Especially when it's this topic. Not too many people have heard this side of me. Um, I've shared it at a couple of NA meetings, which is Narcotics Anonymous, for those that don't know. It's like AA, but it's for people that have drug addictions, not just alcohol addictions. Um, I've shared it at a couple of NA meetings. My sponsor has heard this story a few times. Um, but that's what a sponsor's for. They're there to talk you down if you need it. But yeah, so I wrote a suicide letter, and in that letter I went off on God, and I really, I don't want to say I took God down at his legs, because God is God and God is almighty. And I'm never going to be able to chop him down at his legs. But at that point, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to let every little inch of everything I have swing loose at this guy, because at that point, God did nothing for my life. God was the farthest thing from me. If I could tell you anything, all I saw was black in my entire life. Like, it was darkness. There was demons around me. Kind of like the movie, I don't know if you've seen it, the movie Constantine.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, so when he goes into hell and there's all the screaming souls down in hell, that's what my life looked like on a daily. Like, I saw demons walking around.
So you're telling me that you actually
Oh, I've
visualized them.
I've I've visualized demons before, and they weren't demons that were around other people. They were demons from me that I manifested and saw around me.
So you were in a psychotic state that put you face to face with your decisions that you were actively making,
Hmm.
and your conscience was so powerful that you had to like sort these out,
Yeah.
going throughout your day as high or sober, and you're actually
Yep.
facing these things.
Yep. Facing them every single day of my life.
That could be extremely taxing too,
Oh,
and
it was.
tiring, and
I was exhausted all the time, because they're over there going, "Oh yeah, it's almost time for your next drink, or it's time for your pills." Like, that's what my demons were saying to me.
is
Look
that
at
is that what fuck, dude. Is that what really goes on in the fucking mind when you're
when you're
fucking
when
on
you're
this shit?
when you're just out. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never heard anyone say, "Listen, like I heard fucking voices saying,
Oh
I
yeah.
can't wait your next drink."
Oh yeah. Next drink, next drugs, like whatever it was. If you cut yourself, you know that that's going to happen soon, because you can hear it, you can feel it. Like, I'm about to cut myself. It's going to happen. I never did that. I had a friend that she did that, and it was just crazy.
Oh,
Like,
it's insanity to me.
she would just go into the bathroom, she'd come out, and she'd have like something wrapped on her arm
I remember having to grow up and tackle young women and young men that were my age
that would
cutting
cut.
themselves.
Yeah.
It is insanity.
Yeah. They're drawn to the pain,
Like,
because pain is ultimately how they're dealing with everything
mhm.
inside of them.
And it's like slowly killing your soul. Your
Yeah.
spirit is actively dying. And um man, it crushes me to hear you talk about yourself like that. I think you're an extraordinary individual who's conquered a lot of things. Like, I know you and me, we don't like hang out every day, but you're close to me in my heart, and we talk about you. You're a household name in our house, and we talk about you and your mom, and hearing that you have gone, I say downrange a lot. So you've gone down the darkest, deepest, darkest alleys. You're
Oh,
in
very
Diagon
much
Alley.
so.
If you're a Harry Potter fan, Diagon Alley. You're in the darkness,
Diagon
and
Alley and
and
like
you're
steroids.
you're off the fucking deep end,
Hmm.
and you walked yourself in slowly. And I really would love to hear all about how you kind of did that.
Okay, so um, writing the suicide letter and kind of going off on God and telling God that if he was alive at that point in my life, like, I would kill him myself, was a real attest to where I was mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Um, I didn't see him at all in my life. I didn't see any of the blessings that he was putting on my life, because I was in hell. I was living in hell every day of my life. And I told God, if you don't want me to kill myself, you need to intervene. You need to make something happen to show that you actually love me.
So you gave God an ultimatum.
Yep. And I said, if you do not make something happen, I'm going to kill myself. I will be dead. go down farther in the line, or in the letter. I wrote what they could do with my stuff to my parents. So I told them I have no purpose in this life. I have nothing to live for. I'm addicted to drugs. Life sucks. This is what you can do with my stuff. This is where I'll be found. This is how I did it. And I'm sorry. I planned on shooting myself in the head at the beach. Um, I was going to use a pistol. I was going to drive over to the Washington coast. Um, and I was just
Like
going to
forks and stuff like that.
Yeah, right around Forks area. I was just gonna go to the beach, just go to the ocean, because I love the ocean, dude. I absolutely love listening to the ocean waves and crashing on the beach. Like, I just love that. So my place, my mindset was like, if I'm gonna do this, I want to go out with one little glimpse of happiness. And I was gonna kill myself with a pistol. I was gonna go up on a Saturday. I was going to be drinking at the beach pretty much all day long. And then come Sunday morning, I was going to kill myself. I was going to shoot myself in the head. Um, I had no purpose. I had nothing to live for. Um, wrote that letter, folded it up, put it in a box under my bed, and I left it. 3 days went by, and I come home from work. My mom's standing there, and she goes, I don't know what the fuck you're doing with your life, but you need to call this number. They're waiting for you. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with you, but you need to call this number because they're waiting for you. I called the number, and it was my youth pastor that had moved to Colorado. Um, I call him. My nickname when I was in youth group was Booney, because I talked about Booney rabbits all the time. And I call the number. I don't know who's going to answer. And I call the number, and all I get is, what's up, Booney? And I lost it. I started crying. That guy, God, I hope you listen to this, Darren.
Take your time, brother.
Darren, with God's help, you saved my fucking life. Mom and Dad, with God's help, you guys saved my fucking life. The day I was supposed to be dead, I was sitting in a church, listening to God talk to me, thousands of miles away from where I was supposed to be laying dead. That first week, I realized, all right, God, you must have some kind of a plan for me. Second week, God spoke to me, and he said, I'll never forget this because I can hear it. I told you I'd never leave you. As I'm sitting in a church, and I just lost it. I started bawling my eyes out, started crying, started praying right there in the church pew. I asked God to come back into my life. And the moment I said, God, forgive me, come back into my heart, it was like somebody just made me weightless. Somebody pulled every ounce of hurt, of anger, aggression, hate, defeat, everything I was feeling that was negative towards myself was gone. Absolutely gone. And it was from that point on, I knew God had a purpose for me in life. God wanted me to be somebody that I didn't even know existed because I was so dead inside. I left that day of church, and I remember Pastor Matt of the church that I was going to, or I was at, saw me and he could tell I had been crying because my eyes were all poofy, my eyes were bloodshot. And he asked me what happened. I told him, last week I was sitting in your church. And he's like, yeah, and I'm like, yep. Last week I was supposed to be dead. And he just looked at me like, what? I was like, I was supposed to be dead. I wrote a suicide letter and everything. I was supposed to be gone. I wasn't supposed to be here. My family wasn't even going to know until they found the letter Sunday morning when I didn't come home, where they could find me. God made it possible for me to be sitting in your church listening to you preach. And for 2 weeks now, everything you have said was directed at me. I was like, I want you to know I rededicated my life to Christ today. God is so much in me that there's not going to be any deterrence. I see my purpose. I see my life. I see where I'm supposed to go. And I was there for a little while and felt a calling to go to school out there. So I moved to Colorado, started going to Bible college. Was there for about 13 months, 12 or 13 months, going to school, working full time. And just I couldn't afford it. Couldn't keep living the way I was living. Um, Came home for a visit. I think I was like 80 pounds lighter. I was down to like 230, like super skinny.
Oh, good for you, man.
No, it was because I was starving.
Oh.
I didn't have food. The highlight of my college career was when I found out that the dollar store was starting to sell steaks.
You know, I've heard. You ever heard of the term cheaper than a $2 steak?
Yep.
What the hell does a $1 steak taste
It was
like?
actually like, I can't say it was the best steak I've ever had, but when you haven't had steak for like 10 months, you'll pretty much eat any kind of a steak and be like, dude, this is so good.
Dude,
You ate Navy food, dude.
I
You
ate
know what I'm saying.
Navy food isn't like, I wouldn't say it's too bad, but it is very redundant.
Yeah.
I could tell you what's for dinner Monday through Friday and back again.
Yeah. I could tell you the same
What only
thing.
thing that really does suck? Goddamn chicken fried steaks. It is most of the time not thawed out all the way. Or
Oh.
sorry, the Le Cordon Bleu. The Le
Oh,
Cordon
okay, I was
Bleu.
about
They
to
call
say,
it the Le
bro.
Cordon Bleu. It was so horrible. But I had I had 3.5 square meals a day. If I
Yeah.
stayed up till 10 o'clock at night, I got to eat another meal for free, and I got to take as much as I want.
Yeah.
Mashed potatoes. Life is good, man. Military service in the Navy. Those motherfuckers have nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
Nothing. They're not even getting shot at. So life is good. I'm
Yeah.
thankful. But I can tell you this right now. I have been on a bodybuilding diet,
Yeah.
and I understand the significance of the $1 steak.
Yep.
It is good when all you're eating is cod,
Oh,
or you're eating egg whites.
dude, I was
Raw.
eating. Let me tell you, man, if you want to see how many meals I can make different, taste different, look different out of a case of top ramen,
How did I
and
know?
and some hot dogs and like some different vegetables.
All right, man.
Bro, I could cook you like 6 different meals out of those
I
ingredients
think
right
we should
there.
do it. I think we should do it. Like
Like
we should have a block party.
it's
Hot
not
dog
very
fest.
good. Let me tell you, dude, you ever want to do something really fun with Jackson? Take hot dogs and cut them into like 1.5 inch, 2 inch lengths and shove spaghetti noodles through them and boil them all together. Spaghetti and meatballs, bro.
All right, that's enough. That's enough out of you. We will not be using
Spaghetti and
hot
meatballs,
dogs
dude.
for fucking
It
no.
was amazing. I was like, man, I want spaghetti and meatballs, but I can't afford ground beef. I'm gonna cut up some hot dogs, shove them through, and see what happens.
Bro, go shoot a cow.
Yeah.
We'll get into honey
Okay,
later.
we'll get into
But
hunting later.
but
But
yeah,
yeah, so
we're gonna
I
have to do this.
okay.
But
I came home, and the first time I came home was my grandma had passed away. So I flew home from Colorado, and thankfully, God willing, he held her out long enough so I could come. And I mean, she wasn't conscious or anything, but I got to go in the room and tell her, "Hey, Grandma, I'm here. I made it. I love you. I'll see you in heaven one day."
so there was that a form of closure to you?
Yeah. My grandma and we were super close. She used to live with us. So when I worked, I had certain days off. So her and I we'd watch Maury Povich,
Maury's awesome.
and then we'd watch Jerry Springer right afterwards.
He's
And
not as cool.
her and I,
Maury's the voice of truth.
Maury was amazing. You are not the father.
You are not
Yeah. We'd watch Jerry Springer together, and her and I always joked that like our family should go on there for like a Thanksgiving special because it was just hilarious. But yeah, so I mean, it wasn't really like a form of closure. It was just more my way of telling grandma, like, hey, I made it to say see you later. One thing I will never do is I'll never say goodbye to somebody because to me, it's never a goodbye. It's always I'll see you later.
I like that.
Just like if this is something that I just started doing probably like within the last year, if I know I'm going to be in your life for a long time or you're going to be in my life for a long time, uh, whenever you say thank you, I'll never say you're welcome. I'll only say always, and that's just my way of saying you don't need to say thank you because I'm always going to be here to help you.
I really like that. Wow.
Yeah, that's
There's a lot
something
of
I
power in
just
that.
started. Yeah, it's something that in the last year that I just started doing, and
Thank you for coming on the podcast.
always
Got him.
see
Got him, motherfuckers.
always. You could call me tomorrow and be like, "Hey, you want to do another podcast?" I'll be like, "I'm down. What are we talking about?"
The next thing I'm gonna call you for is if you want to go shooting.
I'm down.
Yeah.
When we going? Because I got plenty of. I mean, I don't have any guns. Can I borrow yours?
Yeah. I got a few. I got a few legal ones.
I have no ammo either.
I
So
have like six legal firearms in this house right now.
perfect.
Yes, and they're all the firearms in this house.
Perfect. That's the
Yeah.
way to do it. I have
Well,
one. It's my hunting rifle.
Fuck yeah. I've never had anybody describe things the way you have, as far as deep, dark, pain-filled moments, and like looking in your eyes while you describe the euphoric moment of not just you had a real miraculous spiritual experience, and a lot of
Oh,
people can't
most
say that.
definitely.
I was blessed enough to have 2 times. I was a kid. I didn't understand what an altar call was.
Okay.
And I walked up to the altar and they brought me on stage and the pastor hugged me, brought me up to his level, like carried me like a little child. So he was up and he had me ask why I want to pray. And I'll never forget. I prayed. I prayed in front of a whole congregation full of people.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about like 100 people. I'm talking about like 500 people.
Yeah.
It was at Westgate over there in
Yo, Westgate Chapel, bro. I got kicked out of that church one time.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, me and a couple of my buddies, we were little hellions in that church.
Well, I didn't get kicked out of that church that day.
Dang, Westgate Chapel, man, that church was amazing too.
It's huge.
It's so big. I loved that church.
I love that church too, man. I think it's the only church I've ever felt cool with. Like
that's cool.
But I pulled up and he picked me up and I was a small kid and I remember my family was all fucked up. They were having a divorce. I remember I was just talking about this the other day. My mom and my stepdad just got done fighting about them getting ready to have a divorce, and this is like the day he put his fist to the wall, like the day he said goodbye to me in his brown
Yeah.
jacket. It's like he came to church the next day. So we go to church, and I asked in front of the whole church for everyone to pray for my stepdad and my mom. And I'll never forget, I was crying my eyes out, and all I wanted was him to be happy.
Yeah.
Like I had this necessary feeling, and everybody in the crowd started applauding, and I
That's
was like,
cool.
"This is really weird." And then
Yeah.
I feel a bunch of people were crying, and I got a bunch of hugs on the way up back up to my parents, and I'm like, "I don't think I was supposed to go up there." And my grandma was said, "It's okay, it's okay. I think you did a great job." The second one is when I was in Virginia, and my buddy B1 Bridgman wanted me to come to church with him. He's like, he put these church songs on my phone when I was trying to ask for some new songs because I was like,
Yeah.
I need some new fucking music, right? No, I need my BM manuals, my so my study paperwork for bosun's mates, which was my job in the
Dude,
military.
I totally thought you were talking about like
Not
bowel
bowel movement.
movements. I'm like, bro, you need music for the poops?
No, I
I
am the
mean,
shit.
all
I
right.
am the bowel movement. I don't need a bowel movement. So he gave me all these manuals, right? So I had all these paperwork, study work, and then all these new songs were on my fucking phone. I'm like, what the hell is this? Have I been hacked? Have I been hacked? What else is on my phone?
Yeah.
I better not catch no nudie videos, right? So I'm scrolling. Nothing, no nudie videos. Okay, so what are all these music? Because like, I'm like, what the fuck? Did my
Yeah.
phone get hacked? Like, what is this? Is he my phone?
Yeah.
So I go through it. There's a bunch of Jesus music. Next thing I know, I'm bumping Jesus music
Heck yeah.
all the time, and he's like, so I saw you had your headphones in. Want to go to church? And I said, I knew it was you. Yes. And so he took me to church, and they called me out in the middle of the stuff. They moved. Everyone get out of the way, and they prayed over me in a big ass group.
Did your heart start racing?
Oh yeah,
That's God
I
touching you,
started
dude.
crying.
That's
It
God
was
touching you.
shit got weird. They told me my parents prayed over me as a child. Even and like this was like recently after I like lost my dad. Like shit was weird.
Yeah.
I was going through a tough time, but it was like parents prayed over me as a child. So I ended up calling my mom right after, and I said, "Mom, did y'all pray over me when you were praying with me and when I was a child?" Like, every day. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how did this pastor in Virginia,
That's
literally 3,000 miles away from here, know that?
that's a very in
Things were
tune
weird, man.
pastor, dude.
Things were weird, and I can only, we can all sit here and we can be doubters, and we
Yeah.
can say that we don't believe in miraculous things happening and some higher calling, some higher power in the world. There definitely is something up there,
Oh yeah.
and it'll get you.
Oh yeah. It
And
will.
when you think you're tough or you think you're angry, it'll bring you to your knees
Oh
and
yes, it will.
overwhelm you with joy and emotion and pity and thankfulness, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like a warm emotion feeling though. I really do. I really did enjoy it, but it was a lot for me to deal with. Like I don't cry that much.
Yeah.
And when I do cry, it's usually when someone's talking about their life. But that's one of those times where I started crying.
Yep.
But that's one of the things that reminded me of the how powerful what you just said was.
Yeah.
Like seeing your eyes fill with tears, and it's not a shameful thing like to be emotional, and seeing you relive that moment was pretty awesome, man.
Yeah. And it's a story that when I do actually open up and tell people, every time I get to that part at the church, I start crying. Every single time because I relive that moment in the moment. And it's so raw of how much hate and anger and everything just left me. I can't there's no feeling like that in the entire world that you will ever get from anything like that experience that I had. And so when I'm telling somebody that story, like it's just that pure emotion is right there on the edge. And then I get to the part where I'm like, yep, I was sitting in the church and then I start crying. I always cry right in that moment of that church. So, but yeah, so I went to college, was there about a year. Um, came home with the thought of being able to go back. I was promised a job down in Seattle at the AMC theater down there doing maintenance work for him. Showed up, moved back home, or came here. Okay, so we'll do this in like the origin of how it actually happened. Went to came home for my mom's, I think it was her 50th birthday party. Um, her birthday gift for me was flying back to Colorado, going to the hot air balloon festival there, and then driving home with me. And she was like, "Driving home? What do you mean?" I'm like, "I'm moving back. I got a job. I'm going to be working at the AMC theater in Seattle, doing maintenance work for them because they don't need me at this one." And my mom was ecstatic. So I moved back, drive down to Seattle for my first day. I'm pounding on the door. Nobody's answering. I'm like, don't have anybody's phone number. Like, what the heck? So I call the movie theater and nobody answers. So I just keep calling this freaking movie theater, like, bro, I'm late for work. Like, this is unacceptable.
Yeah, about like 9, dude.
Yeah. And finally, like, the manager comes down and he's like, I've been looking in my office for your phone number. And I'm like, bro, I've been calling you for the last 25 minutes. Like, what's going on? He's like, I don't have a position for you. And I was like, I just moved from Colorado here with a position here. And he's like, no, like, I don't have a position. So right then and
Make
there,
one, bitch. I'm just
I just was baffled. I went from that movie theater, I stopped, got a pack of cigarettes, smoked about 8 cigarettes from Seattle to the Alderwood Mall parking lot. I was just chain smoking them. Went into the movie theater, saw my GM there, and I was like, "Jim, what the heck, dude? Did you know?" And he's like, "No, what?" And I'm like, "I don't have a job, dude. Like, I just moved here for a job. I don't have a job." I was like, and I apparently wanted to start smoking. So I started smoking cigarettes again, dude. And he's like, I can get you on part time here. That's all I can get. And I'm like, I'm picking up shifts and I'm going to be looking. Another manager there, Jordan, looked at me. I don't know what it is with me and Jordan's. I just now put that together. Jordan in 8th grade snitching me out. But this Jordan was actually cool in the movie theater. He told me, he's like, dude, my apartments have a maintenance position open, dude. You should like they have it out on the thing. And I'm like, where's your apartments? And he's like, Heritage Ridge over on 164th. I'm like, bro, I know exactly where that is. I'm not working today. I'm gonna go in 2 days. I did 23 applications and resumes. Didn't hear anything back from anybody for 2.5 weeks.
maybe the mail didn't work.
And no, this was in person, dropping off resumes and applications. Just, hi, I'm Russell. I'm looking for a job. This is my experience. Hi, I'm Russell. This is my job. I'm looking for experience. This is my experience. I'm looking for a job. Okay. Nothing. So now comes back, was moving the right decision, was moving away from Colorado, the right move for me here. I did skip over a part about Colorado. So when I lived in Colorado, I'll go back real quick and then I'll come back. When I lived in Colorado, I was dating a girl. I worked for a clothing company called Dillard's down in Colorado.
Yes.
I started out in their traveling business attire. Then I went over to their like outdoor wear, and then I started selling suits for them. So if you ever need somebody to help you put together a suit for like not very much money, let me know. I can help you out.
Well, I hate Dillard's, but I'll tell you what, we can go to
Bro,
Men's
I could
Warehouse.
literally take you to JC Penney and make you look super fly
I'm
for
ready.
like 150
I'm
bucks.
so ready.
Okay.
I'll
We
let
will
you
make
know.
this happen too. We will.
I'm so serious.
So I started doing that. Started dating this girl that sold Coach purses, named Candace. And Candace was like, in my head, Candace was 4 million light years out of my league, bro. Like, she was just 110 pounds, soaking wet, dark skin, dark hair, like not like black. She was like, I think she was half black, half like Indian. Um, and that's Native American for PC people or indigenous people, I should say. Um, not Indian from India.
Okay.
Um,
This is not one of those podcasts where people say, "I cannot believe he said." They reach out to me.
well, I'm gonna be.
They
I'll
usually
be
reach
PC.
out to me and I say, "Hey, listen."
Well, my brain was gonna
See,
say
my
something
brain
really
wanted
bad.
to tell the truth
Yeah,
and say that I really care, but
yeah,
at the end of the day, I really didn't want to hurt your feelings.
yeah.
And if you think that I don't know you and I wanted to hurt your feelings,
Exactly.
Borderline insanity. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Yeah. So Candace and I, we went out a couple of times just as friends. Apparently, like, finding out that she liked me just blew me away. Like, she thought I was cute, and I was just like, "What?
Playa.
Like, how do you think
Mm-hmm.
I'm cute? You're, like, supermodel gorgeous." Like,
Well, maybe you're
okay.
supermodel gorgeous. You just don't believe in yourself.
Exactly, exactly. And so her and I went out a couple of times, like, on group dates. Like, some of us would, like, go out and we'd go to, like, Dave& and Buster's, and her and I always just kinda gravitated to each other and, like, hung out. And then finally one day at work, I was like, "Hey, you're working the day shift today?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing after work?" "Nothing. You wanna go out?" I'm like, "I'm a broke college kid, but I'd love to take you out, maybe, even just, like, ice cream or something, like, something after work." She's like, "Yeah, I'd love that." And I was like, "Alright." That was history. Like, it was just we were 2 peas in a pod from that moment on. She had been that night, she was, like, 5.5 years clean from heroin. Um, Her and I dated, and I didn't tell anybody up here that I was dating this girl. My mom's 50th birthday, I was actually gonna fly Candace out here to let, everybody know, like, "Hey, I'm dating Candace." I also bought a wedding ring. I was gonna propose to her while we were out here.
How exciting!
Yeah. A
Oh,
week before her and I were supposed to leave, I found out she had relapsed and she was shooting up between her toes, so
oh,
I
I'm
wouldn't
so
see
sorry,
it.
man.
She put her feet on me one day or one night, we were sitting there and I was rubbing her feet and I looked down and I'm like, "Oh my god, she has track marks between her toes."
Oh, fuck
So
no.
I pushed her feet off and I just sat there and I'm like, "How long?" She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Don't lie to me. How long?" She's like, "3 months." "How have you been paying for it? Because I know you're not out of money." She's like, "I've been sleeping with my dealer." And
Man,
I just kinda looked at her and I was like, "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." Not because you really relapsed. That would've if you would've relapsed, I coulda dealt with it, but you lied and you cheated. And I got
unacceptable.
up, I went in, I grabbed my bag, I pulled out the box with the wedding ring, I put it on the coffee table, and I was like, "That's what I mean by you messed up." I was like, "Pack your stuff and vamoose." The next day, went to the K Jewelers in Colorado, handed the box to the lady. I was like, "I need a refund." And she was like, "It didn't work out." I'm like, "Oh, that's why I need a refund." Um,
Well,
Went to the
the
airport,
stupid questions.
exchanged, the ticket for a one-way ticket back from Colorado or from here to Colorado for my mom, and it was just, like, everything kinda lined up, and then I moved back. So then I didn't have a job, was looking for work, and, um, I was at the movie theater and I was like, "Dude, I haven't seen work. This is horrible. Maybe I shouldn't have left Colorado. Like, what am I gonna do? I can't work or can't live on 22 hours a week for a paycheck. Like, I
I
can't."
know, Russell. I'm feeling it.
Yeah, right?
It's fucking insanity, dude. Don't get hurt at work, people.
I we'll get into that in a little bit, getting hurt at work. Um, so I was working one night and my phone rang and I didn't recognize the number. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm like, I don't know this number. So like they left a voicemail. I go in the back and it's a community manager in Bothell looking for a maintenance guy. And I was like, what the So the manager called me and she left a voicemail. So I went in the back and I had somebody cover the ticket booth because all I was doing was standing there. I was peeling tickets for people and telling them which way, left or right, what theater, blah 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 blah. So like I go in the back, I listen to the voicemail. I'm like, oh my god, this lady wants to interview me. This is amazing. So like I come up and I look at my buddy that's the GM. I'm like, Jim, if that lady, I called her, she didn't answer. If she calls back, I'm yelling at you and I'm running in the back to answer my phone. And he's like, I don't want you to leave, but you need the full-time job. And I was like, yes, I do. So I think I had tore like 5 or 6 tickets and my phone starts ringing and I look and it's the same number and I'm like, "Oh my god, Jam!" And I just take off for the back. And I'm like, "Hello, this is Russell." And she's like, "Hi, this is Heidi. I'm the community manager at Providence. Apartments. How are you doing tonight?" And I'm like, "I'm doing great. How are you doing?" She's like, "Good. I was wondering if you could come in tomorrow for an interview." And I'm like, "Well, I have a part-time job." "You know what? Yeah, I'll be there." I was like, "I'll just tell them I'm not coming in tomorrow." She's like, "What?" And I'm like, "They kind of know I'm already looking for work. They're just being nice to give me hours so I can have a little bit of income." And she's like, "Perfect. Can you be here at like 9:30 tomorrow morning?" I was like, "Yep, I can be there." So, needless to say, next morning I woke up, drove out to this community that I'd never ever even acknowledged before, and met with her. She goes, "Okay, our service manager will probably want to interview with you in a couple of days." And I was like, "All right." So I interviewed with him. When you first meet him, he was a total prick. Like he was an older guy, like my shit doesn't stink. His name was Boyd. Um he was a hard shell, dude, and it took a lot for him to come out of that shell. Uh I met with him. He was a little like, I don't know how well Russell's gonna do, but let's get him in here." So I got hired on full time. I was working Tuesday through Saturday. Um, and dude, I had an absolute blast, dude. I was learning so much. Household repairs, anything inside of an apartment that could break, I could fix. Um, Started learning how to do vinyl flooring installs. Um, Washer, dry, like appliance repairs. Like I know how to repair pretty much any appliance inside of a house. Like it's just the knowledge that I learned from that job was amazing. A year went by. I promoted to another property. So I went from a five this is the best way to describe this. I went from a 5-star luxury resort to Compton, California in a year. I It was just like I went from like super fancy to like
Ghetto as fuck.
holy crap, what did I get myself into? Um I showed up to that community up in Everett. Um God, we had apartments sitting for like 40 something days that nobody had even been into because they were so far behind. And
Like for turnover, like people
yeah,
moved out and it's
people
just
moved
been
out and it's just been sitting for 40 something days with no maintenance guy going into it to start working on it. Um and we dude, we I learned a substantial amount from that property. The one thing that I did get from that property besides the knowledge was the friends. And it wasn't the friends that were my
you never know how many
coworkers.
friends you get when you look down a sewer.
Yeah.
All those
Um,
rats.
it wa it wasn't the crazy part is, like, some of the people that I worked with at that apartment complex in Everett, I used to associate with a lot of them. And now we've all kinda gone our separate ways and, like, we don't really, like, chat that much. Um, but the residents of that apartment complex, because that was very high Navy military community.
Yeah.
I got to know a lot of military people that to this day I still talk to because they were such genuine, real people with me.
That's cool.
Um, I have open doors in Colorado, in Atlanta. I think Justin is actually I think he's in Georgia. I'm not sure. No, well, that's Atlanta. I can't remember where he's at though. Uh, but I have open doors in like 4 or 5 different states because of people in the military that I became friends with. Um, One of the guys that I became friends with, um, I don't know if he'll actually hear this, but Dre was this guy that just intimidated the shit out of me, dude. Um, and his girlfriend, wife, I don't know if they were married at that time. Her last name's Yarber. Um, Sweetheart, dude. We just became like family, dude. We were inseparable. I loved those guys so much. The day that they moved, Yarber moved first, and then Dre moved. And the day he turned in keys, him and I almost started crying in the parking lot because he was like, "Dude, you're the realest motherfucker I've ever met."
I think some people are meant to come into our lives, and it's kind of like an ocean. I say this a lot, that when the ocean sometimes the washes up like driftwood, and you can build like a little fort, like if you're a kid.
Yeah.
Sometimes it washes up a dead octopus, and you're like, "Oh God, what's that smell? Get that shit back in the water."
Yep.
Other times you get a beautiful seashell, and we all like to collect all the pretty things in life, but sadly we can't.
Yeah.
And that's how kind of like friendships and connections with other humans usually works.
It's crazy that you said that because, again, I made notes listening to your podcasts. And this one was actually the night that you and Ree sat out by your fire and you guys talked.
Uh-oh.
And Ree had made a quote about people being like seasons in your life. I can't remember the whole quote, and I didn't write it down. It was just basically I wrote Ree's quote about the seasons.
Okay.
Mine, and it was kind of
I
like
think she said that people are meant to come up. Some people are there for a season. Some people are there for multiple. Something
exactly.
like that, right?
So
I'll never
mine,
say things as
yeah,
well as she says.
exactly. It
I don't
was
have
so well,
I don't
like,
have a girl's voice,
yeah.
it's not the
Thank
same.
God you don't. That'd be weird.
Yeah.
I'd have to call you Mini Tyson, Mike. Let's do this.
Wow. Shots fired. Moving
So,
on.
anyways,
Hurt my
about her
heroes.
quote, her and I had like her quote was her quote. My quote is they were totally different, but they had the same exact meaning. And my quote is, everybody has an expiration date.
Ooh, I like that.
Some have a longer shelf life than others. Um, and that could be that's one that me and my best friend say to each other quite a bit is that could be a person that you call a brother one day and then years down the road you go, you know what, this person's still in the same place and I'm growing and they don't want to grow. They have now expired in my life. That doesn't mean
Holy
that
shit.
that doesn't mean that that person can't call me today and I won't drop. I will drop whatever it is and go help this person. It's just they're not where I'm trying to go with my life. And then you have people like you or my best friend that have an expiration that that expiration is eternal expiration. It basically means that by the time you're not in my life is when one of us is standing at the other person's coffin saying our final see you later.
I see.
Um
I really like that, man.
yeah. And
I think I needed to hear that.
yeah,
It's
and
fucked up.
it really is, but it's one of those things that you
No,
start evaluating your life and it's
yeah,
like that person's no longer that person was my brother and that person is no longer around me. That person
because they
is
betrayed me,
yeah,
or they completely just sacrificed everything they were
yeah,
for all the wrong reasons,
exactly.
and now they're just horrible. Like,
Yep,
I really needed to hear that, man. That brought me a lot of closure. So thank you
of
for saying
course.
that.
Of course.
Expiration dates.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
Expiration
I'm gonna
dates.
have to air that shit out. I'm gonna
Yeah.
talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Everybody has an expiration date, just some of them last longer.
Well, I'll tell you what. No matter what happens, like if we got into a fist fight one day, you can call me the next day and be like, "Dude, I think there's someone trying to creep at my house. Can you go check it out?" And I'm gonna be there. Like I, I, uh, I don't get that whole
Yeah.
like. I never. There's this really interesting song, and it goes, "Why do people break up, turn around, and make up?" And I don't think it applies just to lovers in life. I think it applies to everything.
Yeah.
We don't have to be so caught up in what he said and she said. Like, so as far as society goes, we get caught in drama a lot.
Oh yeah.
We don't tap into throwing drama out of the way and just doing what needs to be done. Like,
Yeah.
I got people I fucking hate. People really hurt me in my life. People who meant the world to me, and they don't even pick up when I call anymore
Yeah.
for literally no reason, right?
Hmm.
That doesn't mean that if I didn't see them on the side of the road and their tire was fucked up, I wouldn't pull over and help.
Exactly.
Or yeah,
They have an expiration, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to be that genuine person and be there if they needed it.
yeah. Like they're just. I'm just gonna act like they're a normal human being.
Yep.
That's a
It's not going to be
stranger.
like, "Oh, bro, what's going
I'm
on?"
gonna
It's
be
not
like,
going to be that level. It's going to be like, "You need help?" Yeah. All right.
I'll probably throw in a go fuck yourself when I'm
Exactly.
done.
Exactly.
But the love is still there.
Yeah.
You know.
And so that was kind of my like everybody in my life has that expiration. And when you just said it, it kind of like drew that back to like, oh man, I had that written down. So And I'm really glad that it resonated with you and helped you deal with some things.
Yeah, I'm gonna be talking about this with Jackson tonight.
Perfect. Perfect, dude.
Yeah.
It's definitely a big thing, and when they hear it, I mean, it hit you.
Yeah.
It hit you good.
How many people do you know that hold on? God, and there's a lot of people.
One
If
too
you listen
many,
to this,
dude.
and you know exactly who I'm talking about. How many fucking people, Russell, do you know personally that have held on to the past and bullshit and I want it to be this way and I wish it was still the same. You can't live in the fucking
No,
past.
you can't, dude. You
You
really
have to
can't.
create your future,
If
and you and your scissors, like making a snowflake in elementary school.
heck yeah.
You cut the holes to make the pretty shit. Before it was just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And if you cut at the wrong time or you wait too long, it's gonna look like shit.
Yep.
Cut the dead pieces out of your life.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Trim that
Trim the
rose
fat.
bush. Trim the fat. Leave some marble for the
Yeah.
steak though,
Leave a
but
little bit of marble, but trim
marble
some
for
of
the
those
steak,
big
but
fat.
trim the fucking fat out of your
Yeah.
life. And that goes for health, goes for relationships, that goes for failed relationships, especially. A lot of people I know have a difficult time with dealing with failed relationships.
Yeah.
And you really drove it home. Expiration dates.
Yep. That's what it is.
Y'all motherfuckers check for the milk expiring, right?
Yep.
Check
Yeah.
who's on your in
Check
your life.
check check who's on your shelf right now in your life
Oh yeah.
that has an expiration date.
Like Jersey Shore. Why are they still here?
Hey man,
Why?
don't pick on Snooki,
Why?
yo. Yo, Snooki back in
If-
the day, I had a goal that I was gonna go to Jersey when I was in high school and I was gonna meet Snooki. I didn't want to do anything with Snooki, like I just wanted to give her a hug and say I have a crush on you, and that was
I
it.
was making a joke. I didn't mean Jersey Shore. I meant Fast and the Furious.
Oh, okay.
Don't shoot me.
My bad.
Yeah. Jersey Shore is cool.
Okay, then Letty. Okay. Like I would marry Letty in a heartbeat from Fast and the Furious.
There's a lot of people you'd marry. Anyone that can shoot a gun, pretty much.
Shoot a gun or drive a car.
Yep.
Or both.
Yeah. Or both.
Or
At the same
both.
time.
Same time. You can't do it before me though. That's the only deal breaker. If you shoot a gun and drive a car at the same time before me, then there's a problem.
Damn. So you developed some great relationships in your life, and
I did.
and you've had some failed ones that really scarred you.
Oh
And
yeah.
scars, they don't have to be ugly,
Nope.
but they're there.
Oh yeah.
So what I want to ask you about someone who means the absolute world to me. And I'm not going to talk about your mom because I don't want to cry. Your mom, I'll talk to you offline about her. But I'm not going to sit here and cry this whole fucking
You can
time.
talk about my mom on here.
Okay, all right, whatever. So your
I
mom,
cried. It's your turn.
So Mama D, I've met a lot of extraordinary women in my life. When you told me that what she said to you before she handed you that number, I heard it in her voice, and I visualized it. And this is the type of woman who, if there was $120 in her fucking bank account, she'd give you 115 and save the 5 for, I don't know,
If you needed
bread and if you needed it. And she'd eat and drink bread and water like Jesus in the Bible,
it.
and then give you every other penny she had.
Almost
She's
definitely.
an extraordinary woman. I don't know anybody who has such a massive heart as, and we call her mom at this house. We call her Mama D. There's a lot of moms in my life, and not all of them are great, and not all of them are amazing. But your mother is extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary, and
She's got a heart of gold, man.
I can't talk about her without like wanting to just give her a hug and cry. Like fuck.
Yep.
What was it like growing up with a mother who loves as passionately, as fierce? She's a fierce fucking mother.
Oh, very much so.
She's not like the type of coward mother that will be like, "Oh, I'm just here to nurture." She's like, "Rasa!" Like,
Oh yeah, no, it definitely isn't like parenthood now where they want to be your best friend. It was more like
that's
I can be
up,
your
dude.
friend,
Don't
but
be
this
a best
is
friend of your kid.
one lesson that I always learned when I was growing up is my mom's bat will always hit harder than mine. Bat. Like a baseball bat. She will hit
I
me
like a bat that
harder.
flies.
Nope.
Oh, no.
Nope. Baseball bat. You ever get out of line with my mom? She always told me, my bat will hit you harder than anything you can have. So that's why when my mom handed me that piece of paper, I knew it was either that or I was going to be on the streets. And growing up with a mom who is so strong. My mom dealt with breast cancer, spine, and lymph node cancer, and worked a
So
full time
three different cancers.
three cancers at the same time.
What?
And she worked a 40+ hour a week job for a company that did not appreciate her at all.
I ain't got no more complaints
She
in my life,
showed
man.
she showed up at work with a smile on her face every single day. She would take the day of chemo and the day after chemo off because she'd be in bed throwing up. Did she have a poor me attitude that entire time? Absolutely not. And she will tell you to this day, attitude is everything. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with. If you have a positive attitude, you're going to come through it.
That made me feel ashamed. What you just said, you know.
Trust me. I said it and it cut me out too.
Yeah,
I'm like,
man.
great.
I feel like super ashamed now because like I always used to tell people this. I feel like a hypocrite almost, and that's why I feel ashamed. I used to yell at motherfuckers like, "Do you know who the fuck you think you are? You know someone right now laying in a hospital bed begging God for another chance to redo and not give up on their fucking life."
Yep.
Now I'm sitting here like, oh, God, I've complained once in the past couple hours even.
Yeah.
I've said a joke. It was a joke, but it was a complaint. Who, what fucking issues do I have, really?
Yeah.
Like your mom did all that.
Yeah.
I got no more
She
complaints, man.
never,
I'm hanging up the complaint.
dude,
I'm done with it.
she never missed a football game. And if you've ever sat on a Friday night at the Edmonds Stadium in the middle of fall or winter, you know it's cold.
Yeah,
But imagine being on chemo where you're cold down to your bones.
with three different types of cancer you're
Yeah,
going through
3 different kinds of cancer you're fighting, and you have no hair
and chemo.
and chemo, and you're freezing
And this
all
is
the
before
time.
the great medicine. This is when you were a
Yeah.
child.
Yeah, this is I was in high school. I was like a freshman or sophomore, and she worked all through cancer. Never asked anybody for help. My dad, my mom. My dad and I would take care of my mom, while she was going through it. Like I said, I would go to school, I would come home, I would take care of my mom for a couple hours, I would go to work, get picked up, I would come home, I would do schoolwork, I'd go to bed, again, all while doing drugs. I think that was another part of my reasoning for drugs. Wasn't because my mom had cancer, it was because my mom had cancer and there was absolutely nothing I could do. I could wake up the next day and have my mom dead. I had to numb some sort of fear inside of me
Mm.
with drugs. So that's why I was doing more drugs,
Yeah.
was because of that.
I understand what it's like to seek refuge in an area, whether it's positive or negative. You're seeking
Exactly.
refuge.
Yep. And so growing up with a mom that her heart is just pure gold, and she, like you said, if she has $120, she'll give somebody 115 and figure out how to make $5 last her. Or somebody else call her and say, "I need $5." She's gonna go, "Here you go. Here's $5," and then figure out,
And
what am I
she'll
gonna
just
do?
suffer,
Yeah,
eat grass. Like
that
she's an alpha, an absolute alpha.
yeah, that is where I get my heart, because I will give and give and give and give continuously to people. I actually saw a quote today. It was kind of weird that I saw it, but kind of cool at the same time. And it said that sometimes, I don't know why I'm bringing this up because this doesn't have to do with how I'm feeling or how my mom feels, but it said sometimes the people that try to make others happy are the ones that are dying inside.
That's the truth.
And I'm not saying that I'm dying inside. I'm honestly like in the most amazing place. I'm sure my mom is too. Um, but you look at it and it's like, it's so much truth behind that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that because people are willing to do for others and give to others that they're just dying, that they're not happy inside. Um, some people are just built that way. My mom is definitely one of those people that is built that way. She put that into me and my sister. We're both very much that way of we'll help, we'll help, we'll help, we'll help. Like, we'll do whatever it takes to help people. I mean, when we helped you and move
That was
Cherie and Jackson,
exactly
and you were like,
perfect.
"Bro, I just need a couple hours." I was like, "I got you." And then you were like, "Okay, we're done. We're going to the dump." And I'm like, "What do we have left?" And you're like, "Oh, I have a bunch of stuff." And I'm like, "Mom, Dad, they have a ton of stuff
I
still."
didn't want to take up your whole
And then we were
day.
like, "We're doing this, bro. We're locked in." You're like, "No, no, 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 not the whole day." We're like, "Pfft, whatever, dude. Let's get this done because you're not doing it by yourself."
I would have done it by myself. You know, I would have done.
Oh, I know you would have.
It would
That's
have
why I
taken me
was like,
to
I'm
like
not taking a
it
no
would have
for
been
an
like
answer.
3 a.m. when I'm done, and I would have like, fuck.
Yeah,
You
I
know
got to go
what?
to bed, and now I got to go to work. Like, great,
I wouldn't have
20
gone to
minutes of
bed.
sleep.
No, I would.
Yeah,
No, I don't want to be. I don't want to feel hungover from sleep. I'm
yeah.
staying up.
So
Suffer.
we very much are those people of like we will
Absolutely.
just do whatever we have to. So for me, seeing my mom that way made me the person I am
I like that. What
with
about
my
your?
heart.
So I don't want to call him Daddy D because that sounds like a
Daddy
bad
D,
porn name. Uh,
come
we call
here,
we
Daddy
call
D.
call,
I
call
can't wait to
I
hear this,
can't wait.
dude. I
It's so
cannot
fucking
wait to
bad.
hear this. This is awesome.
Oh my
And
god.
he called Dad Daddy D.
I'm not gonna call him Daddy D. No. So, but your dad, Danny, not Daddy
Hmm.
D.
Yeah,
Danny,
let's get into him.
he's quite the badass himself. I've heard a lot of weird noises in my life. I've never heard the weird noise that people react to me telling him about his longest shot that I've ever heard of him taking hunting. Tell me about your dad's what he did in the army, what his job was. Tell me a little bit about him, what that meant to you, and then I want you to tell me about how he raised you.
Yeah, for sure, dude. So Dad was drafted during Vietnam. When he got drafted, him and I we don't talk a lot about his experience in Vietnam because Vietnam was a whole different breed of a scenario,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't just ask somebody in from Vietnam what their experience was like because the stuff they saw over there just
It was unreal. You have to let them tell you. And
completely unreal.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't want to. Oh, I should have probably said this first, but we talked about this before off the camera and off the mics. I don't want to overstep.
yeah,
So
for sure.
anything you're not comfortable talking with, or anything he'd be uncomfortable with you talking about, please don't
Yeah.
misuse
Well,
his trust. Or anything he told you privately,
oh
you
yeah.
don't have to tell me.
No,
I just want
so
like a
we
general. Did he like fly helicopters?
no, he was
Did he poop
actually
in holes
he was
and
a uh mechanic.
okay,
So he worked on the tanks and the big rigs.
very cool.
He was also part of the crew. I can't remember the name of it, but basically, like when a tank or something gets like destroyed or unrepairable out in the field, he was part of the team that went out there and basically stripped everything off that they could, and then would blow the rest of it up. Because if you blow it up, nobody can use it at that point. If you
Yeah,
can't get it back and you can't get it running, you strip that mother effer down
yeah. He stripped and demoed it.
and then you blew it up so nobody could get in it and use it.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And then he would bring stuff back. That's basically the gist of what I know he did in Nam because again, him and I
Okay.
don't really talk about that.
And that's totally respectable, man.
Yeah.
He's a quiet professional, and I think that's admirable.
Very much so. Every once in a while, him and I'll like talk about stuff. Um, we actually just recently, a couple of weeks ago, had a discussion about chemical warfare in Vietnam and stuff, and I was asking him about white phosphorus and napalm and stuff like that, and he was telling me about white phosphorus that the only way to get rid of white phosphorus is so basically it would get on your skin and it would just start burning through whatever you had, your clothes, your skin, it didn't matter. It would
Yeah,
just burn
it's
until there
like
was nothing
Alien,
there.
dude. It's like the Alien spit.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
He said the only way to get that stuff to stop burning you was submerge it in water. So if you got it on your hand, you better find a bucket of water and stick it in there and take that bucket of water with you to the med station and tell them I have phosphorus on my hand. That's why it's in water. As soon as you pull it out, bro, it's going to start coming out. It's going to start eating
so
away.
it's oxygen activated.
Yeah.
It's not
Um,
good.
so him and I, like, we dabble in those conversations and stuff. And it's really cool to have him gradually open up about them because again, guys from
Everybody needs
Vietnam,
that, man.
nobody's gonna talk about that stuff, dude.
I had one dude that talked to me about it, and it was like hard seeing the light leave his eyes as he talked about
Yeah, they go
children, lines of children. I think this is the one that stuck out the most to me. Lines of children from a village being sent out while the cowards sit there and do nothing, and then they surrendered afterward. But they sent a line of kids out to get murdered.
Yep.
So that all these troops had to deal with psychologically deal with murdering
defending,
dealing with a threat.
Yeah.
And subduing that threat in whatever form is necessary.
Yep.
The rules of engagement and shit. And now they have to deal with these kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And the same thing happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, sadly.
Yeah,
a lot of my buddies are fucked up because of it.
Yeah. So that he didn't really, we don't, like I said, we don't really talk about it that much, just because me not being in the military because of a quote unquote asthma attack, I don't have a place to be like, hey, like this is what I experienced in the military. Like, what did you experience? Like, we have
Swap
no
more
real,
stories.
we can't really swap those stories.
Does that bother you?
No, not really.
Good. Don't let it bother you, man.
No.
If you ever had the thought pop in the back of your head, like, oh, I wish I would have served, bro.
Yeah.
Everybody's exactly where they're supposed to be in life.
Exactly.
You are here right in this seat for a reason. Someone's gonna hear what we're talking about and be like, oh, yeah, these two assholes really made my heart feel full.
Exactly.
And you know what? Today might be the day I don't kill myself. Or this, you know what? Maybe I need to just reach out to my old youth pastors, or maybe I need to talk to my mom and dad about something I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
I'm really feeling like suicide, and I should just tell my mom I'm hurting really bad. That is what my favorite thing to do about this is.
Yeah. So growing up with him as my dad, dude, I have the greatest stories with that guy, dude. First time I remember going fishing. All right. So I have a lot of stories with dad, dude. The growing up, he raced figure 8 race cars at Evergreen Speedway. So I have memories.
Quite a few people to do that.
Yeah, I have quite a few memories of, every Saturday night, dude. I grew up at the racetrack up there. I was a kid all the way. If you look at the grandstands, we sat all the way up, all the way to the right. I was the kid that at 4 or 5 years old, I'd be passed out on the bleachers listening to the cars go by. You gonna eat your Tootsie Roll?
The rapper's going up at the bar.
Perfect.
I want my moment.
So, I was the kid, growing up, like, dad worked on race cars. I worked on race cars. Going fishing for the first time with that guy. I don't remember this, but I remember going fishing with him, but I don't remember the whole story. But the way he tells it is I had my rubber boots on that were up to my knees. I was like little. I was like 6, 5 or 6, something like that. Went fishing with him and was playing in the water to the point where I couldn't move because there was so much water in my boots. And he had to pick me up and like dump the water out of my boots because I was just soaked because I was just playing in the water. I had a blast, dude. So much fun. So many stories and memories with this guy, dude. My first learned how to do my first oil change. I think I was like 7. And I had a brand new shirt on because it was right before school started. Like right before the school year was starting. Had this shirt that had this giant freaking pencil on it with legs and arms. I'll never forget that shirt because it was the funniest looking shirt. And I was going to wear it the first day of school. Mom told me, don't wear any of your new stuff out working with dad in the garage. And I was like, all right, Mom. And I put this shirt on, crawl under this car with dad. He gets the drain plug loose. And he goes, all right, just untwist that. And I'm like right underneath it, bro. And I'm like twisting away. Like it's like right here, like right above my chest. I'm just twisting away.
And a beeline from your forehead to your
bro,
sternum.
it was just, I pulled that plug and was like, blah, and I'm like, blah, like that. He started laughing. Bro, he thought that was the funniest thing ever. Go in the house and I'm like, Mom, I'm like covered in oil. And she's like, you ruined your new school shirt. I'm like, I know, but I'm covered in oil. Dad's laughing. He thought it was funny.
It is fucking hilarious.
Dude, it's so funny because I didn't know what to expect. He was just like, well, he's going to learn the hard way, apparently, because that's how we learned things, was learn it the hard way, not the easy way. Because you'll make that mistake and then you'll know, okay, don't do that again. To this day, when I pull drain plugs out of oil pans,
You put on
Excuse
safety
me.
goggles and look away.
No, man, I always end up like getting it super loose, and then I just let go of it, so it just shoots into the pan. He's like, "Pull that away," and I'm like, "No, I'll play in the oil and get the bolt out. I'm not dealing with all this oil, dude."
Listen, you're not gonna call me juicy anymore.
Exactly. Like he just thought it was funny. Um, and so growing up, man, like like he was the dad. He was my father figure. He was my superhero. I only saw this guy cry to this day 1, 2, 3 times.
Was one of them, and 2 of them, and 3 of them when I got my 3 dogs.
No.
Damn. Thought for sure.
The first
Like,
time
they got a baby. Oh, it's a dog. Just tears of sadness.
the first time I saw my dad cry was when my grandpa passed away. We walked into the hotel, into the hospital room, and it was me and my mom. We walk in, and my dad's sitting next to my grandpa, and he's just bawling his eyes out because my grandpa had passed. Grandpa was my dad's superhero. I know my dad's never said that, but I guarantee, just from how vivid that memory is in my head, that was his superhero. The second time I saw my dad cry was not when we found out my grandma had passed. He was very choked up. That was a very hard moment for me. We were out deer hunting. It was the day before opening, I think the day before opening day. And my mom called me and told me that grandma passed away. And I had to be the one to tell dad.
Oh God, that's tough.
And I was like, "Dad, I got to tell you something." And he was like, "Okay." And I stood up and I looked at him and I'm like, "I'm going to give you a hug." And he was like, "Okay." And I hugged him and I was like, "Grandma just passed away." And he cried a little bit. He contained himself because not really sure why, but I know he contained that cry back. At grandma's funeral, I felt compelled to talk. Some of my dad's family does not look to me as a nephew or family because I am not blood.
Yeah, that's a stupid rule.
At least that's what I'm taking. Nobody really tells me, but I know that when we have family get-togethers, there's some of his family that basically shun me.
Well, you know
And
what?
I don't know why.
If you feel that, it's probably true.
Yeah.
Like it's probably true. Okay.
Yeah.
It probably is.
So, at grandma's funeral, I got up, I pulled a couple of Bible verses up on my phone and said those. And then I looked at his family and I said, "I want you guys to all know that I love you very much. And if any of you ever called me, I would be at your door to help you with whatever you needed because that's what family does." I was like, if I could say one thing to grandma, and I looked at my dad and I made him and I actually, we laugh about this because we both knew and we both looked away from each other at the same exact time. I looked right at him and I said, if I could thank grandma for one thing in my entire life, it's giving me that guy as my dad. And him and I, exactly.
Cutting onions in here,
bro. Him and I literally, we started crying and immediately looked away from each other. Like, nope, don't do it. I looked away from him.
Jesus, Russell. Can you just, can you skip the rest of the tearjerkers, man?
No, because there's a big one coming.
Wow, man, you said that about him?
Yeah,
he must. Yeah, like, as a dad, if I was a dad, I'd be so honored.
Oh yeah,
that would be so overwhelming.
So,
Jesus.
Him and I, like we have so many experiences together, hunting experiences.
I'm starting bringing tissues for these things, man. I'm done with you.
Okay. You're probably gonna want tissues.
I'll keep it together. Get on.
hunting experiences, just going hunting with this guy and watching this guy just add more levels of badassery than I ever imagined possible. Just blows me away, dude. Watching this guy shoot animals that he'll go, "Oh yeah, that was like 300 yards." And I'm like, "Bro, that was like 500-600 yards away when you shot it." Like, no. And he's like,
You,
"Oh,
you go out there
yes."
with rangefinders?
Yeah, I have a rangefinder in my bag.
Oh
The
yes.
last the
So
one shot that he said was 350 yards away was more like 480 yards away.
yeah, I don't shoot that long, so I don't know. That's like
Yeah. So
I'll build
it's
a 308 if you guys take me. I'll be good.
I'll
But
help you
you
build a
don't have to let me
308.
shoot. I'll just guys want to hang out.
Bro, I'll take you out and let you do long range shooting.
Just want to
Might
shoot.
have to do that.
I'm trying to kill a deer, bring it home, drink his
So
blood by accident because as a hazing joke.
Wolverines.
Wolverine. So he's taking this shot,
So
right?
yeah, so
350.
he shoots, and I mean, just watching this guy just pull up and just shoot like it's nothing, dude. Free hand, no rest, nothing. Just draws up on an elk that's like 500 yards away and shoots it, and it drops. Mind you, these elk are running
Yeah.
left to right when he shoots. So he knew they were coming, and he knew where to shoot, when to shoot, and drop that
Yeah, lead,
animal.
lead times, all that.
Yeah,
Does he has? So it's probably better to ask question.
that's
Sorry,
okay.
probably a better question to ask him. Has he done any like sniper training or any schools like that in his career?
No, he did not.
So this is all just years of hunting.
Yeah, years of hunting.
So he's a elite
He's
level
been hunting
hunter.
since he was 11.
Oh
I think
yeah.
11 or 13. I can't remember.
So the song "Country Boy Can't Survive" is pretty much about him.
That's him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
My favorite song.
yeah. I always think that if Dad is ever gonna have a movie about his life made, that it has to be Clint Eastwood to play him.
I don't know.
No,
I think it should be him.
you think he should play
That'd be
himself?
so uncomfortable for him.
It would be uncomfortable, but I think that would be
It would
awesome.
be awesomely
Yeah,
uncomfortable. He'd be like,
yeah,
in the bloopers, I don't want to do this
yeah.
shit.
I don't want to do this anymore. Can we go home?
Can we go home?
So yeah, so I mean, just like all the knowledge and stuff that guy's taught me: hunting, fishing, camping, working on cars.
How to be a fucking American.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
How to do things for yourself and not rely on other people to do them.
Yeah.
I have that from him, and then my mom was how to clean, how to do laundry, how to cook, how to sew. Like I know all of these things that this generation has no concept of. And it's like I know how to do all of this stuff because of the people that were in my life right now. Um so dad is just I mean
Powerhouse
he's a
of strength.
powerhouse, but he's a quiet powerhouse. He's a silent powerhouse. He's very he's the quiet man in the room that's observing everything and knows what's going on, and he's as smart as a freaking whistle, dude.
I know.
Dude, it's
It makes me
insane.
uncomfortable. I'm gonna be
It,
honest, Danny. If you're listening to this, you make me uncomfortable all the time. At any time, I'm like you live right on the street. At
yeah,
any given time, if I'm within visual distance, I know I can get a shot with him. I'm talking about. I'm forget if I'm wrong. Does he wear glasses?
yeah,
So I can get shot by a guy who wears glasses while I'm fucking running,
yeah.
as long as I don't zigzag too randomly.
No,
And
he'd probably be able
and
to get you on the
and he's
zig
gonna
too.
get me. And
Oh
if
yeah,
it ain't the first shot, it'll assist the second.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that
Most
makes me
definitely.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
here's a funny story for you. When I was little, when we used to before we moved into this house, his old racing partner Greg got super drunk. It was me, my mom, and my dad. I don't know if my sister was there. At our house, at our rental house, just off of 36th up there. Um, Greg decided to get drunk and start at the front door, banging, and he worked his way around the left of the house, all the way around. So
Oh, so
my
there's a potential threat.
yeah, potential threat.
Okay.
Dad didn't know what was going on. So what's dad do? Tells me and mom go in the back room, grabs his gun,
We the
loads
mother
it.
boys raised on
And
shotguns.
he loads his pistol, and the noise is just going all the way around the house, and it's starting to work its way up to the front. So he goes up to the front door, and it's bang bang on the front door. He kicks open the door and just puts the gun in his buddy's face, cocked, ready to go. Realizes who it is, and goes like this and puts it down because it was an old revolver.
Oh yeah.
And his buddy's like, "Oh, was the gun loaded?" And my dad's like, "Damn straight, I got my
It's a
family in the house."
357.
He's like, "I got the family in the house. What do you think? It's freaking dark outside and you're banging on my house. You're lucky I realized who you were, or I would have shot you in the face."
Yeah. And you don't need to call the police.
No, he's done.
He's done.
Like, it's done. It's over with.
It's over with. Problem solved.
So yeah, so that's that's a messed up but funny story. About
So he
how
has restraint.
he very much has restraint.
Wow.
Another funny story is when I was really little, my mom and my sister got in an argument, and they started yelling at each other. My mom yelled at her, and then my sister yelled back. And my dad, it's the only time I've ever seen my dad yell. He looked at my sister and was like, "Don't yell at your mom!" And he has this vein that goes right down the middle of his forehead. And I was instantly like, "Oh my God." And I ran to my room. I thought he was going to kill my sister. I was terrified. Terrified. I think I was like 6 or 7. And yeah, that's just another. I never want to see my dad pissed, because if he is, it's not going to be at me or my parents or my family or anybody. It's going to be bad, dude.
Usually I say seeing people calm is where I get nervous, because I get like super calm. Like everyone knows when I'm pissed off all the time.
Yep.
Usually I'm pissed off because people tell me I have resting bitch face, is what they say. So you got that resting bitch face going. I'm like, what the fuck did you say? And like, you got the resting bitch face. So I start laughing, and now I'm not mad anymore. But I'm always in my thoughts.
Oh yeah.
How can I better myself? How can I better my firing position? You might call it my house.
Yeah.
Self-protection, right?
Yep.
Are my security cameras in the right spots for me to not be incriminated?
Yep.
And to properly display a criminal entering my home? You know, it takes serious restraint. And I say this from experience. It takes serious restraint not to shoot a motherfucker coming in your house.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ. It, like, even if you don't know who it is on the inside.
Yeah.
It really takes a lot of strength. Like, if I see a stranger in my house, like, it's going to be a long way home, whether the cops are dealing with you or I am.
Yeah.
And I'm going to die in a nice big pile of blood before I let you harm my family.
Yep.
It can be terrifying. Like, I don't know what drunk people get ideas like this, like bang on the doors around the house.
Greg,
no, baby.
That was an
Stay
idiot.
in the yeah. Hey, even the cops do it. They knock and they step back a couple feet.
Yep.
Smart cops do.
Yeah.
After that lady charged out with that knife and stabbed the cop in the head on that viral video, she was terrified. Anyways, but like, your dad is somebody that I would be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him mad.
No.
Like, normally people say, I don't want to see them calm.
Yeah.
They'll get quiet.
No, I don't want to see either one of my parents mad.
I don't want to see them mad. It's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, I definitely.
And your mom, anything other than stern and love and compassion creeps me out too.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. I don't want to see her when she sings.
Love you, Dad.
I've never seen her sing.
No.
I don't want to see it. I'm terrified.
No. But yeah, so dad is very calm, and you know when he's pissed or when he's disappointed, because he just gives you that vibe. He doesn't say it, he just gives you the vibe.
I've seen it.
So yeah, but this last couple of years, like, I've really been just like honing in on his roots, him as a person, him as my dad. And this last Father's Day, I wrote a letter to him and brought up a lot of key points in mine and his life together, and did all my research. And I actually asked him to legally adopt me this year. And he said yes. And I told him that if he wanted to do it, that all he had to do was sign on this little piece of paper. And he couldn't sign because he started crying.
Well, I actually started crying a little bit too, man. I'm gonna be honest with you.
So that is the third time.
Fuck off, man. I'm done with you. You can't come on here ever again.
I told you were gonna need tissues for the last one, dude.
It's so simple, but it's so perfect.
Oh, it's so simple. I didn't know what to get him for Father's Day, and so I figured the best gift to give my dad for Father's Day was making him my dad. Not that he's never not been my dad, but making him my dad. So if his family is listening, yes, he is legally my father now. So I'm legally 100% a Brann, even though for my 18th birthday, he let me legally change my name to his last name. Um, so yeah, Dad, I love you. I will always love you. I always have loved you, and I will always be here for whatever you need. So yeah, so that was his Father's Day this year. Was
I wouldn't have made
me.
it. I wouldn't have made it through Father's Day. I would have
Oh,
been there
bro,
sitting.
it was emotional, and the best part is his sister, my Aunt Chris. His he has 3 older sisters. He has Melody, he has Chris, and then he has oh my gosh, how did I forget her name?
because
Oh my
you're
gosh.
emotional about your
I am
dad.
emotional about my dad. Marilyn. Um, Marilyn passed away not too long ago, but she outlived what the doctors said she would live by like years, because she was handicapped, mentally handicapped. Um, but Aunt Chris this year, the day of Father's Day, we actually like met her and my Uncle Wayne for dinner. Um, and we were sitting there, and I kept waiting for Dad to say what he got for Father's Day. And kept waiting, and kept waiting. He didn't say anything, and I'm like, "Okay, Dad, I gotta ask." He's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Are you gonna tell Aunt Chris what I got you for Father's Day?" And she goes, "Oh, what'd you get?" She got all excited. She was expecting like some cool gift, and he goes, "Well, for Father's Day this year, my son," and I almost started crying when he said my son because it hit me differently, asked me to adopt him. And my aunt just went, like, just baffled because ever since I was a little kid, she has never looked at me as nothing but her nephew.
It's so weird, man. How much is wrapped up into the government's blessing in creating your little family unit? Like, have you ever
Everything.
seen my stepdad around?
Uh-uh.
Okay, well, he's around a couple times. My mom,
Actually, I think the guy that you went shooting with, right?
yeah,
Not just,
you
yeah,
see,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you see my
Yeah,
mom.
I've
You
seen
see
him.
my mom around. Have you seen anybody else? I have a huge family,
Yeah.
but like these lines of blood and legality do not necessarily mean who my family is. My family, to me, is anybody who breathes on this earth.
Blood
And
doesn't make you
blood
family.
doesn't make you
Loyalty
shit.
does.
Yeah, loyalty does. Absolutely. So I agree with your aunt.
Yeah. So she was just beside herself. She thought that was so cool. Um, so yeah, yeah, that was just a couple of months ago, dude. That's crazy to think about. Like it just happened, but it seems like it's been because he's been my dad since I was 2.5. Like that's been my dad. But like to say like legally he's been my dad for a couple of years, like couple of months now is just insane in my head. But
That's
like
so
at the
exciting.
same time, like it doesn't seem like it's that short of a time because he's been there forever.
Is it framed?
It will be. We're waiting on the last little bit of stuff. So
You know, I can illegally adopt you as my brother.
you could.
All it takes is a gun.
Well, I think we've assembled those together before.
I know, but you can buy me one.
I can't buy you a gun.
Yes, you can.
How?
You buy it, and then I pay the money to have it transferred to me because I'm not a criminal.
Oh. Well, how about I just make you one?
No, whatever, dude. I was trying to get a free gun. You
No, I'm not going to give you a
fucked me
free
all
gun.
up. Oh, I know. I would never ask. I would never ask.
That would be funny.
I'd ask for some water if I was about to die of thirst. Other than that, I'd never ask you for shit.
Yeah.
So
Unless it comes to
wow.
helping move.
Unless it comes to help it. That was an emergency situation.
That was a very big
I was
emergency
all out
issue.
of options, man.
Yep.
Like we had it was like on the spot.
Yeah.
You know, when
That was insane.
sadly when people leave your family high and dry and abandon them,
Sounds like their shelf life expired.
yeah, their shelf life fucking expired, man, for sure.
Yep.
I don't have I don't have trust issues. I have good trust.
Yeah.
Good trust, judgment.
Yep.
And I don't trust a lot of people for a lot of reasons. So, but I trust a lot of people to answer when I call for help. And I wish that I had millions of dollars so I could replay like the love that I've received from your family. I don't. But what I can do is say that anytime you guys pick up your phone and dial my number, work or not,
Yeah.
I'm gonna answer. And if there's a problem, I fucking leave what I'm doing and go there.
Oh yeah. I know you would.
And I pull up and whatever happen, whatever is to fucking deal with, I deal with. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But we're gonna figure it out together. And
Exactly.
that's what family means to me.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people get caught up in the dynamics of, oh well, technically speaking, you aren't legally. Shut the fuck up. Have
Yeah.
you ever sped? Then you broke the law too,
Exactly.
stupid.
Yep.
So fuck the law, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, some laws. I don't. I a lot of laws are good. But most are just a waste of time. So
Yep.
your family is absolutely spectacular.
Yeah. Thank you.
Your mom's extraordinary. Your father is a symbol of strength in my life to me.
Yeah.
Just by how you, not even before you even talked about him, he was a symbol of strength in my life.
Yeah.
Seeing him, how he carries himself, that is an ideal. Like if I got to choose one person to raise me, as far as doing like man things, I would have chose your dad.
Yeah.
And not just because of how you talked about him, because of his values. Family, firearms, and food. Okay?
Yep.
The 3 F's.
Yep.
Right? He loves his family. He uses his firearms to get his
the
food to feed the family. Okay?
That's right.
It's a never-ending cycle. And it's so simple.
Yeah. It's
And
easy.
it's rooted in being an American. I wanted to ask you, God, this is like a difficult question for me to ask. So, guns.
What about them? I don't have any.
I know. There's this weird thing that people talk about when they say that, and we're gonna get into the nitty and the gritty here. People talk about guns being bad. Now, I have this weird thing on my shoulder, over here, on my left side, near my heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tattoo. It's a rattlesnake. Says, "Don't tread on me." A lot of people associate that with violence, with extremist edict and nonsense.
I think it's to do with patriots.
What does being American, owning firearms, and the culture that surrounds the phrase "Don't tread on me" and the American flag mean to you? What does it mean to you? Is it a warning?
Man.
Is it a warning to evil people who would end the lives of small children? Is it a sign that says leave America the fuck alone because these are my neighbors and I love them? What does it mean to you?
Dude, okay, so the "Don't tread on me" and the American flag, honestly, for me, being core me, is a symbol of the American flag alone is a symbol of freedom, and it's not that freedom is not free. That was paid with sacrifice from so many people in the military, past, present, and future. The "Don't tread on me" flag is honestly a way of telling the government to quit screwing with us and trying to manipulate and rule our lives. There's a quote by George Washington. Give me 1 second because I actually have it saved because I'm going to have it put on a t-shirt.
Hell yeah. I love G-Dub.
Yeah, George Washington's an amazing fella.
I actually served on that United States naval ship as well.
You did?
Yes.
Excellent. I did not know that.
112 days. They sent me to the wrong ship when I was supposed to be in San Diego. So,
Oh, man.
that's a story for another time, though.
Definitely. I would love to hear that story. So, the quote by George Washington says, "When the government takes away the citizens' rights to bear arms, it becomes the citizens' duty to take away the government's right to govern. The government does not control us. We control the government. They work for us. We supposedly voted them in to office. I really think that our Congress needs to have limited what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah. Yeah.
On
Yeah,
everything.
limited terms on everything. Congress, the people that are in their 70s and 80s have no idea what the people in their 20s are dealing with out here. They think they do, but they don't. I really love the the American flag. The American flag just for me just symbolizes so much freedom, that was given to me by people like you who have been in the military, who have sacrificed your well-being, your mental health, your life. Not that you died, obviously, but you sacrificed your daily life. You sacrificed to go out and be in the military. There's guys and men and women right now that are still in foreign countries doing what they're doing to give us our freedoms.
Yeah, Red Friday. Remember, everyone
Yeah.
deployed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, the "Don't Tread on Me" flag is about patriotism. It's our way of saying, "Quit pushing, because we're gonna push back." Do I
And it's
have
not like a call to not like a call to civil war,
No,
or a
definitely
sign,
not.
or it's definitely not a sign of white supremacy. Because
No.
if you believe that you're superior to another human being because of your skin color,
Yeah.
you are the one fucking doing the treading, dumb shit.
Yeah,
And like,
exactly.
the
I've been called
fucking,
racist way too many times because I have an American flag on my car.
you know what?
I also have an Iggy 6 with the Blue Lives Matter flag decaled on the tailgate of my truck. So for those that don't know what Iggy 6 is, it's IGY6. It means I got your 6. I also have a sticker on my window that says 1078 IGY6. A 1078 to police means police officer needs assistance.
Hmm.
I will gladly stop if I see somebody attacking a police officer to help that police officer.
Get active, yeah.
Yeah. I will also, on the flip side, get in the way if I see a police officer doing something brutally that's going to harm a person
Unnecessarily.
unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Yes. Not that I would like jump in there and be like, that guy stole shoes, get off him. Like, I wouldn't do that. But like, if I saw that it was like,
Well,
if I saw that it was
that shoe can escalate very quickly into
exactly.
assault on a peace officer
Exactly. And now
or
we have to
assault on a
ban
Leo.
shoes because assault shoes are bad.
Dude, God, dude, those fucking
Sorry.
shoes. I've been kicked a couple times.
Yeah, see, assault shoes. Sorry. I actually just recently, a couple months ago, did a tour of a prison down in Oregon, and they had an inmate there. I want to say he was the 100-year pimp, I think is what he's called. This guy, dude, he's in jail for 100 years because he curb stomped a John that didn't pay the hoe, the prostitute. And when he went to court, bro, this guy straight up said, "Well, I didn't know kicking him in the head while he was on the curb would do that much damage because it wasn't a warning label on my shoe." He actually had a lawsuit against Nike for this. And of course he lost because he's an
Oh
idiot.
my god.
But it was a thing. Like, it really
Wait,
was a thing.
I
And I'm
didn't
like,
know.
"Are you kidding me? That guy's in here for that?" And they're like,
I didn't
"Yep."
know this inanimate object would do
Yeah, I
inanimate
didn't know
object
that would do
things. Like,
that.
oh,
So, but yeah, so the American flag very much is a symbol of freedom. Um, I will gladly, gladly beat the living piss out of somebody if they light my American flag on fire, throw it on the ground, and start stomping on it. That is actually unconstitutional. It is in the Constitution that if you light an American flag on fire while doing like a demonstration, or you throw it on the ground and step on it, if you're stepping on, I think that's actually what it is. If you're stepping on the American flag, it's a term for being arrested. It's
oh,
against the law to do that, and they do not arrest
I didn't
people.
know that at all.
Yeah.
Wow,
Um,
I better learn how to fucking read, huh?
yeah. So it's something that if I'm ever at a protest and I see somebody light an American flag on fire, they're getting lit up.
Yeah.
I will
I've
go
had a
full
difficult
on
time.
4-point stance, football press that mother effer into whatever inanimate object I can find. That person will not be coherent.
Do you feel that that's a violation of their First Amendment rights?
Me beating beating the piss out of somebody? No, because they're
No.
going against the Constitution, which is an act of treasonry.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to double
You're like,
check.
whoa.
I just wanted to no, I'm not like, well, I think violence is
Violence is
honestly,
okay in
man,
certain
violence
circumstances.
is a tool to be used by people who are sober, moral,
Mhm.
prudent citizens in this country. Um, a lot of people use violence as a way to intimidate people or
Yeah.
bully them or say, "Oh, look at me, I'm tough. Let me show my peacock feathers." You know, people call it peacocking. You know, you've heard of it, right? And
Nope.
it okay.
Actually, I'd never have.
Well,
I'm
now
like,
you have.
peacocking. Okay.
When they throw the fucking feathers, like, "Oh, look at me, I'm a peacock. I'm dangerous." And they're just like being a fucking pussy. So it's stupid, right?
Oh my god,
Yeah,
peacocking.
peacocking. Yeah, they're fucking
Dude,
peacocking.
that's
And
so funny.
all right, it kind of
I'm
is,
sorry. That was
but it's
hilarious.
a
I
term.
just pictured somebody like, yeah, just
Throwing out feathers. Yeah,
dressing like a peacock
I'm gonna hit
and
him in the face.
here
I,
comes Eddie.
well,
Bop! You're not a peacock.
we dealt with a lot of people like this growing up. Bullies,
Yeah,
peacock.
they do.
Yeah, they put up the little fucking feathers, and there's a little bitch in the
Yeah,
inside, and they just want to hurt people.
yeah,
And I'm not cool with that. But violence should be employed and used
yeah,
by sober, moral, prudent people. If you're drunk and you get into a fight, your emotions might be in play.
yeah.
You need to fucking we are humans. We are emotional human beings. I've cried listening to you talk in the past hour a couple
Yep.
times. I'm emotional. You know what? Do you think I'm in a good state to commit violence when I'm emotional? Probably not.
Yeah.
I might now that doesn't mean every instance, but who am I to judge?
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to be burning an American flag and I snatch it from them and they decide to push me, they're probably gonna get punched back because I feel like it's an assault on my life and I'm just
Yep. You're fearful.
directly in fear of my life.
Yeah.
Also, you're burning an American flag. I'm just terrified that they might want
Yeah.
to do some terrorist shit. I don't know. I don't know that, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen the true acts of people who take advantage of protests. So if you have a group like people who just show up because the news said there was going to be protests or Facebook said there was going to be protests, and you got the BLM organizers on their fucking megaphones, and then over here out of the woodworks when it's nighttime, there's people that show up in all black,
Yep.
and they are doing violent things to make everybody look bad, and they're
Stupid ass
burning
ninjas.
shit
God,
like
I hate the
God,
ninjas.
it's like cosplay ninjas, right?
Yeah.
So these people show up, and I've been attacked. I've been attacked on the way home from work, and I had to almost, and I talk about it a lot with my friends. I'm glad that I wasn't in firefights on the ground because I'd hate to have to shoot a kid in the face.
Yeah.
It sucked to have to head home from work and have to make a decision. Like I put a red dot in some fucking kid's face
Yeah.
because he had a deadly force tool and he was going to employ it to try to break into my vehicle
Ugh.
amongst with a bunch of his friends. And I'm like, and I had my window rolled down, like, hey, do you want to go home? I definitely do. Like, rethink your fucking strategy.
Yeah.
And he did. Thank God.
Yeah.
Do you think I want to be painted a white supremacist? I've already
Yeah.
been called it a few times. Like half white supremacist
Jeez.
shoots white kid in face for trying to bash in his car with a metal pipe.
Yeah.
That was my life, and I was trying to head home, so I
Yep.
got attacked, and it wasn't necessarily protesters. I think protests are awesome. Use your First Amendment right. Fuck it up, man.
Yeah.
Get out there. If you're gonna twerk in the middle of the street, that's your form of protest. Twerk it up. If you're
Just
gonna
please make sure you have actually like a booty to twerk because that flat booty twerking looks like chicken flapping together.
Russell, stop body shaming.
I'm sorry. I do
Body
not mean to body shame.
shaming.
I'm just asking for my
Jesus.
benefit to
You
make sure you have a booty if you're gonna twerk.
Oh
That's all
my
I'm saying.
God.
I'm not body shaming. If you want to twerk with a little booty, that's totally fine. Just make sure I can't see it because
I'm gonna
that's
start
weird.
a foundation called LBM, Little Booties Matter. Yeah. And we're gonna, you know
Li-
what?
Little booties
You're
matter.
gonna be the opposition.
Perfect. All right.
We're
I'll be
gonna
like, yeah, that's too small.
suing you for defamation.
Yeah, give her a free T-shirt. She doesn't have one.
Oh my God. You're not gonna. You're definitely getting
Ladies,
sued.
I'm kidding. I would never do that. Body shame, nothing.
Yeah.
If you want to twerk, twerk.
Pretty sure it's a joke.
Yeah. It's totally a joke.
But your First Amendment right, I think it's so important to express in whatever. You know what? Who the fuck is there to tell you if you're not burning down shit, you're not breaking something that the taxpayers are ultimately going to have to pay for and replace?
Yeah.
You're rock out,
Yeah.
go crazy.
Yeah.
You know
do
what?
it. Just don't be an idiot.
Do what you need to do, but don't try to attack the pissed off veteran who's really still trying to conform to normal society.
Mhm.
Like headed home from work, or and don't smash in next to me the car full of
Exactly.
Africans when I'm watching this car piece of Honda, fucking they're smashing. These kids have their hand on the window. Like, you ever seen kids that are unbuckled from the seat and they put their hand on the window and they like look out to the
Yeah.
far they can go? Motherfucker comes through and bashes with the same bar that he was done with me, bashes their window. Now I got to make a decision. Am I going to gun some dude down in the back or drive home?
Yeah.
And so
Good Lord.
I make a decision to drive home. And it still resonates with me. Like, what if I got out of the car and went hands on with this guy? Could I beat his ass? He was looking a little rough, so probably. But like, who's to say his friends won't hit me with the metal fucking piece of rebar? I think it's called rebar. No,
Yeah.
it's not called rebar. It's a metal thing with notches on it. You can hook up shooting plinkers to it.
Yeah, that's rebar.
So whatever. It was a green one, and it's green with notches on it.
Oh, no, I know what you're talking about. Those are
Yes,
fence posts.
fence post, the green little fence post.
Yeah.
He had a fucking one of them. And he was
Jeez.
gonna bash in my shit, and then he bashed in the car next to me, and I'm like, "Fuck, dude, it still bothers me. Could I protect those kids? You
Yeah.
know, it sucks." But like, expressing your First Amendment rights, expressing your
I have no
Second
issues with that.
Amendment right, expressing your every single amendment right, because it doesn't matter what skin color you have. If you think that anybody telling you need to give up your fucking pistol, your form of self-defense,
Yeah.
after the cops take 45 minutes to show up at my personal house, and this is from experience,
Hmm.
45 minutes to show up to my house when somebody is breaking down my front door, literally. And I have to call multiple times to the operators and say, "Hey, I'm gonna gun this dude down if you don't send the cops to him, and you're gonna be dealing with a murder scene. Like,
Yeah.
he's trying to bring to my house, like, and it's not gonna be nice. It's
Yeah.
like everything's gonna happen." I had to get like a warning from I got a nice warning from the sergeant of the LPD saying, "Hey, you cannot threaten that." And I said, "Hey, how about you fucking show up, or if you don't want to prioritize my call, just say you're not going to show up, and I'll just do what I fucking do,
Yeah.
and then we can be cool. We can be cool. I'm not going to look down on you, but if you're going to show up, show up. Like, I know what happened after 2020. Y'all don't want to come out the office.
Yeah,
Y'all
exactly.
y'all don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
They literally told you to lay low. You're not on patrol. You're at there. I see all those fucking cop cars lined up. Yes, I see them all lined up in front of the shop. I know what the fuck is what. If you're not in them, driving community involvement thing, right? So you're at the office. Don't sit here and tell me to be cool. I'm not gonna be cool. Somebody's scaring my family at my house, trying to kick down my front door.
Yeah.
So you know what? Thankfully, my wife didn't shoot the fuck. She could open the door. She could open the door to see who it was. She would have been completely. She did open the door to see who it was. Thankfully, she was strong enough to push him and lock the door, or she could have been
Jeez, dude.
compromised. And we have a lot of issues dealing with police and doing our own job with Second Amendment. And I'll tell you this right now: as soon as that first shot breaks and you are trapped without a gun, or with a gun and it's only got 10 rounds in the shit because some person who doesn't operate with firearms, is not an occupational status dealing with firearms whatsoever, and has no background in firearms with having to do with self-defense or defending your own family or your life, and them telling you, "Oh, you only need this money." How the fuck do you know, douchebag?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're telling me that you want to put a gun law on somebody who thinks that they're okay with murder when they walk into a school, or okay with breaking into a home? What? That's against the law too. Are we stupid? Are we stupid? Don't
Yeah.
try to convince me. Don't try to convince me that this is about common sense gun law. You want common sense gun law? How about you tell people that you're going to offer some free, since we have lovely tax-paying Americans in this country. Why don't you have them do these free gun courses? Learn. How about we have the police do active shooter scenario drills in these schools instead of our kids?
Yeah.
And then do just a couple with the kids. We don't. There's a school, not in the state, thank God, that drove the kids 4 days in 1 week after Uvalde. After
Jeez.
Uvalde, 4 days, 4 times. It's all over the news. You're practicing it, and they didn't tell the kids they were practicing every time.
Yeah, I've actually been seeing some
That's
things
terrifying.
that there's a couple of different schools like throughout the US that have actually one school, like I just saw it, one
In
school
North
put
Carolina,
they put guns in the school
yes, yeah,
for
it was in North
protection,
Carolina.
and there was another one that they hired veterans to be armed security officers when the kids show up. When I can't remember where that was, but when the kids show up for the first day of school, they're going to be met by their teachers, the principal, vice principal, and the armed security officers that they hired. And in my like dad and I talked about this. That's you want to protect our kids, hire the veterans.
So
Veterans are
Anthony Tripp just
looking
talked about this. Yeah.
Yeah, veterans are looking now coming from civilian life, like I don't know, but I do know. Veterans are looking for a purpose when they get out of the military.
100%.
You meet that veteran outside and say, "I've got a job for you." You're going to strap up and go to a school and protect the kids. You in? What veteran's going to say no?
Well, I would even opt for multiple of them.
Yeah.
Because let's say we can humor the stupidity and say, oh well, if one of them has PTSD, maybe they're just gonna go crazy. All right, have two.
Yeah.
Does that make you happy now?
Exactly.
But
2 or
no,
3,
we just
4,
hired.
5.
But
We
we just
have enough veterans that are getting out of the military. We could arm every school with
and
a
have
couple.
money to spare.
Exactly.
But instead they hire 87,000 IRS agents.
Oh, IRS agents.
my
Yeah, they're not
God.
coming for the rich and famous. They're coming after us.
No. Well, I did the math the other day, I did it, and I was talking about with some friends. And when I say friends, I mean people I don't like on Facebook about
All
it.
right.
And we got into the logistics of it. I said, wait a second. So there's like 900 something billionaires in the U.S.
I think it's like 875 or something like that.
800 or 87,000 IRS agents?
Yeah.
We don't have that many. I got a better idea. How about you hire fucking a quarter of that and put it at some schools? We have active shooter issues in America with children.
Yeah.
These aren't adults rocking in schools.
Yeah, they're
often
kids.
angels. They're fucking kids. Let's invest in mental health.
Bro, I remember
services.
like it's
Yeah.
just crazy. Like you were just about to say, like the mental health aspect of it.
Mhm.
For me, like I remember in high school, we had trucks in our parking lot, student trucks that had shotguns in the windows.
Yeah.
None of us thought of
Did
that.
they wait, hold the fuck on. Did they jump up and start shooting people?
Nope.
Not mine either.
Nope. Yeah,
My
no.
guns have never shot anybody.
No, I remember like it was nothing to see shotguns in the windows of like we called them the rednecks. I knew all the rednecks. They had shotguns in their trucks. The
I like
police,
rednecks.
the
I'm friends with
Linwood.
them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
me too. I am partially a redneck. The Linwood police officers that were security at our school knew that those guns were in the car. They
Yeah.
didn't care. They were like, okay, cool, whatever.
Awesome. I got more friends in case some shit
Yeah,
pops off.
exactly. Like we never thought of that. Now it's like kids are shooting up schools. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. I'm like, maybe we should like look at like kids' mental states and mental
For real.
health.
I talked with the sheriff just about it the other day. King County Sheriff. He wants to retire. There's not very many of them left, and it's really looking rough.
Yeah.
He was like, dude, you should apply. I said, dude, I've done some shit in my life. I'll be disqualified. Just get started. It's like, please humor us and just apply anyways.
Yeah.
They're so desperate from anyone that's willing to actively do something, I guess. And I'm like, and he like asked me like, what are the worst thing I've done in my life? So I like, where's your body cam? So I got a body cam. I said, all right, I'll tell you everything I did in my life.
Yeah.
So I told him all the worst shit I've ever done. He's like, I don't give a shit. I'd hire you just based off how you're talking. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'd roll the dice on you. Fuck over this shit. It's horrible.
Yeah.
What we have people that are scared to protect and serve.
It's actually been something in my mind the last like week and a half because they're updating, like rebuilt all of Spruce. That whole school is brand new.
Mm-hmm.
New parking
How many
lots,
points
everything.
of entry?
Probably
like a bunch.
So if you were to go just from the fronts, there's 2 driveways.
Okay.
One on the north end, one on the south end.
Mm-hmm.
You access points are from the west. So on Spruce, 2 access points. I don't know if they have the access point from the neighborhood in the back off of 36 still, because there used to be like a little walkway.
Yeah.
That you could walk through and get onto the school property right there. I don't know if they
close that shit, man.
I don't know if they blocked that off or not.
They need to.
But there's 2 access points that I know of. But I've actually been the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking about taking like the first or the first day or the second, like the first 2 days of Spruce, their first day and second day of school, taking those days off from work and just standing outside.
Yeah.
All I would do is just stand there.
Yeah.
out in front. I'd even just sit in front of my house because I'm right across the street from the school, and just sit there and put a sign up says, "I'm here, just making sure your kids are safe."
You know what? So you love my boy Anthony Tripp because he does the same thing, and it's so overwhelming. You know, a simple act of, hey, you know what? Just in case somebody else doesn't want to walk in the school and stop a shooter, I will.
Yeah.
That simple act. You don't need to be a vet or be a career politician who loves making talking points off of the dead kids, or we can all be real. We can all be real. We can be honest, and we can say someone else's kid is worth it. That little kid did nothing.
Yep.
You know, like, God, I hate to touch on it again, but the Marysville Pilchuck High School shooting. I thought my fucking sister was dead.
Yeah.
And and then find out it was a girl I used to babysit. Like,
Yeah.
that's real life.
Yep.
It's real life. It's raw. It's pure. It's emotional. No one is coming to save you in the moment.
No.
And having a posture, a defensive posture about yourself is a positive thing. Having a defensive posture around where the children are is good. And if anybody's listening to this, look up the Guardian program in Florida, and tell me you wouldn't want that for your kid.
Yeah, please
Tell
look
me,
this up.
Tell me you'd rather have them be a great victim versus having one person, if not multiple, and multiple school teachers who are armed. What are they? There's teachers at these shootings throwing their bodies in front of
Yeah,
gunfire.
in front of gunfire.
Give them a fucking fighting chance if they
Yeah.
want to, at least.
Yeah.
You know, being a better victim is never. When was the last time we told a girl, "Oh, well, you wouldn't have been raped if you wore a skirt"?
Yeah.
It's the same shit. Same shit we're telling people. Well, the guns are the problem. No.
Yeah.
Bad guys with guns are the problem.
Yeah.
Good guys with guns stop these problems. That's how
it's
that's how we
always
stop
worked.
these.
Yeah.
We stop these things, and they're usually cowards. How many times these kids surrendered
Yeah.
at these shootings? It's miserable, man, and it makes me so sad.
Yeah.
Honestly, it takes one good act of a good human being, and you know what, Russell? I think you're that good human being. That you vocalizing that, I think you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think your dad can do it. I think your mom can do it. I think I can do it. I think Anthony Tripp can do it. I think his boy and his lady friend that are on his Facebook doing veteran Overwatch during the summer at parks and at
Yeah.
Thurston County programs and the fairs and stuff. I think they can do it. I think Governor Thurston County Sheriff, hopefully Sheriff elect soon, Derek Sanders down in Thurston County, who wants to implement these veteran Overwatch programs because people don't want to sign up to be a sheriff.
Yeah.
He's going to try to implement some veteran shit. I think that's great. I tell you what, it takes good men doing nothing for evil to prevail in this country. And you're a good man, and you're not going to do nothing. You're going to do something.
Yep.
Whether it's just saying, "Oh, hey, how are you doing? Hey, you look upset. Is everything okay?" You're that type of person who do that, and you can make a difference. You have made a difference in my life.
I appreciate that. That means a lot more than you would ever think.
You have, dude. You made me cry 3 times so far today. Well, I have to know just a couple more things, man.
Okay.
What is your future going to look like? So we've talked about your past, we talked about your current, we talked about things that you want to do. What's your future look like for you? What in the future?
My future, my past, my present, and my future, I owe everything to God. You know, my life was hell. The things I went through, I would never want somebody to go through. But they made me who I am today. They made me who I will be in the future. So with that being said, whatever God has in store for me, it's his will and his blessing. A few years ago, God showed me a door of making alcohol. And yes, I will openly admit I'm a moonshiner. And I'm not scared to tell people that, because I'm going legit with it. And this company, it's called Gnome Tree Distillery. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. You guys can follow us and see all the posts that are going to be coming up here soon. We're not officially open yet. We're still going through the paperwork process. COVID really threw a dent in that. But ultimately, the goal is to get Gnome Tree up and running. It's already been evaluated that it's going to be a very successful business, very, very successful, very fast, to the point where I won't have to work very hard to make money. And that's exciting to know, but that's not my ultimate purpose. Um, at first it was I want to grind in my 30s and my 40s so I can just relax the rest of my life and like benefit from my hard work. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, that doesn't really glorify God in what he's been able to teach me and push me to do. And my future is Gnome Tree Distillery, but then this actually hasn't been voiced to anybody, so it's going to be you and the podcast will be the first people to hear this.
Hey.
So it's going to be Gnome Tree Distillery, and then once Gnome Tree is up and running and successful and lucrative, I'm actually going to be opening Gnome Tree Outreach, and it's going to go towards. I just got goosebumps again. It's going to go towards homeless people. It's going to go towards homeless shelters. It's going to go towards uh, people that need help, people that need just anything, food, groceries, rent paid. That's what Gnome Tree Outreach is going to be. I am all about outreaching to the people and helping. One thing that draws me to my uh, my churches are their outreach programs. So yeah, so Gnome Tree Outreach, dude, is something that I've been just kind of bouncing around and looking at and really thinking and praying and researching and reading, and it's going to be something that just reaches out to the community and draws people in whatever they need, whatever they're going through. We're going to have people that are going to be there for them. um it's going to be an organization that's just going to be something special. Homeless shelters are great. uh Soup kitchens are amazing. Food banks are great. This is going to be a one and all outreach. You're going to be able to come and get food. You're going to be able to come and get clothes. You're going to going to be able to come in and talk to somebody that's been in your shoes, knows what you're going through, whether that be an alcohol addiction, a drug addiction, homelessness. Like I want to have those people in this area, and ultimately like that's just me saying, God, look, I'm helping people that need the help. I'm spreading your love and what you did to me into the community, and I'm helping those that need it. So that's the ultimate goal is Gnome Tree Distillery. And a lot of people are like, well, how do you feel about like being I guess I didn't say this either. A couple of years ago during COVID, I did online schooling and finished my online degree. So I'm actually a minister. I am a pastor. I have my certificate. I have everything.
Wow.
So the running joke is communion's going to be lit at my church because I'm going to bring it with moonshine and bread. That's been kind of the running joke with my mom. She keeps calling me the moonshine minister, which is hilarious.
Moonshine.
But people have been like, "Oh, well, what do you think about all those people that are alcoholics?" And I'm like, "What about them? Like,
They're human beings.
they're
Like
human
us.
beings." When I was in school, like going to the actual school, I got in an argument with my professor because he asked me if I was going to the grocery store, and in the parking lot was a bar, and I saw somebody from my church go into the bar. What would I do? And I'm like, I wouldn't think anything of it. And he's like, okay, you wouldn't like wouldn't go in there to see what he was doing? I'm like, I don't care.
Why?
And he's like, okay, well maybe you just wouldn't go into the bar. And I'm like, honestly, like
Maybe you need to
I
mind your
would
business.
probably go in the bar. And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't see a problem. He's like, well, you're not supposed to drink. And I'm like, oh, you're taking the Bible out of context. It doesn't say you can't drink. It says don't get drunk. I was like, if I'm there having a beer and I see somebody from my church walk in, or they go, hey, you want to go out and have a beer? I'm not going to say no. I'm going to go have a beer.
Jesus drank wine. I read that shit.
He made water into wine. He never
Yes.
drank.
What? You know what? That's close enough for me. Close enough for me. Somebody drank wine.
Somebody drank wine. If God
wine.
didn't want you to drink, he wouldn't have made that water into wine.
You know what? The Lord provide.
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
I'm like, and my professor's like, well, what if you were at like one of your senior pastors' houses and they asked you for a glass or he poured himself a glass of wine with dinner? And I'm like, I wouldn't think anything of it.
I'd pour myself a glass of
He's
whiskey.
like, why wouldn't you think anything of it? And I'm like, maybe he has a heart condition and the doctor tells him that one glass of wine with dinner is acceptable to help with his heart condition.
I sound like your pastor really is
Dude,
nosy.
he was definitely like trying to make me out to be a
It's
bad
like
guy.
the King Karen of the church.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was entertaining. Him and I used to butt heads all the time. But now I'm like, people are like, oh, do you feel weird about being a minister and owning a distillery? I'm like, not at all. I'm
Do you
like,
feel weird about
because
asking that question?
yeah, I'm like, not at all. I'm like, because I know what God wants and I know where my heart's gonna go and I know where I'm going. Like I know the path.
Mm.
Because I had a very vivid dream about Gnome Tree Outreach. And it was such a vivid dream that when I woke up, I instantly knew what that company was going to be like and what it was going to do for people. And I knew that that was my purpose. And that's what God wants me to do. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know that's what God wants me to do.
That's dope, dude.
Yeah. So one day
that's
it's going to
what it
be
is.
Gnome Tree Distillery. And then one day after, who knows how long after, it's going to be Gnome Tree Outreach. And it's going to be an amazing outreach program to the company or to the community around.
So what's hanging you up right now? If you don't mind me asking, is it the Liquor and Cannabis Board?
It's the Liquor and Cannabis Board.
Because I do have a friend on the Liquor and Cannabis Board.
It's that. It was my last place of employment, kind of destroying me as a person. And I lost the drive for my own company because they belittled me and broke me down as a person.
Hey, you know what? It's not always easy to stay strong, dude.
Yeah, and this new company I'm at, if you guys look into them, it's Joe's Racing Products. They did not ask me to mention it. I just wanted to mention it. This place has completely 180'd me, brought me back to who I am, back to my core values, my confidence levels back. And I owe them a lot because they saw that I had the potential to grow and be a person. But they really want the best for me. And I can see it in the way they work with me, the way they talk to me, the way they act with me. Um, so it's kind of a conglomerate of things going into what's holding me up on the distillery aspect. I have a couple of things of paper that I have to do with the TBB, so it's like the Tobacco Tax Bureau something. I don't know what they are. It's more ways of the government. The more ways the government wants to get more money from me,
a bunch of
because taking my taxes is helping them, and that's
They need more.
yeah. So that's what's holding me up, is kind of a conglomerate of a couple of things that I'm now getting the drive and the passion to go back into and really get those things rolling again.
You should do it, man. You should do it. And I think if anybody can achieve your goals, it is you. And you got a great head on your shoulders. You have a huge heart, and not because your heart's oversized. It's right where the exact size it should be.
Yeah.
And you just have so much love to give to this universe, man. Your mother and your father are amazing. Your mother's extraordinary. Like I said it before, your father's a symbol of strength in my life.
Yeah.
And I think you are a perfect combination of the two. And
That's cool.
as Russell gets to navigate his life, you're going to continue to keep making these great strides. I really do think so, dude.
Yeah, it's there. It's ready.
There. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me, man.
Absolutely, dude. I had a blast, and if anybody needs anything, you guys can find me on Facebook under Russell, and then my last name's Brann, Brann, or you can find me on any of the Gnome Tree Distillery platforms. We're on Facebook and Instagram.
It's a unique name.
Send me a private message, you guys. We can connect. We can talk. I'm more than willing to talk to anybody about addiction issues, whether it's alcohol or if it's drug addiction. If you guys need anything, reach out to me. I am more than willing to talk to anybody about any of the situations. If you have suicidal thoughts and need somebody just to listen and to talk to, like I said, I've literally got the tattoo of continuing on my life and pushing through that and persevering and being here today to tell you that message. So hit me up if you need to talk. I'm always here.
Absolutely. It's never too late to change something that's happening in your life.
Not at all.
And there's no reason to pass the pain to the people around you. There's people out there that do care, and if they don't, fuck it, we do.
That's
All
right.
right.
Yep.
Thanks so much for joining us today, brother.
Thank you, bro.